mistake you made at your wedding?
Honey, I love you, but said I do. Not my mistake. I love my wife. I'm going to get in trouble for that, aren't I?
Yeah.
Good morning, Crime Spies. It's Shannon. Happy Friday. I'm going to press play. I've been waiting to see Muddy River News testimony from yesterday, Thursday, day 4 of the Illinois versus Timothy Bliefnick trial. And I just did another quick check on my YouTube leads and stumbled across this. So this is yesterday morning's, so Thursday, day 4, testimony. Also, I wanted to mention, if you follow my Twitter page, let's just see if we can't just show you real briefly. I pinned to the top of my profile here. The morning recap starts here. And it's 3 pages. And then underneath that is the afternoon recap. Also 3 pages. And then underneath that, I have posted the kind of the summary of the witnesses to date. So here's, oh, I got it backwards. So we've got days 1 was just jury selection, day 2, day 3, day 4. I am beyond frustrated with the speed in which these videos are coming out, but I'm not going to ruin your beautiful Friday. It's absolutely gorgeous here in Minnesota by complaining. How's that? I also wanted to thank a couple people for being my therapist this morning. Dylan on the alternate corner. Thank you. And the shaming of Jay. Thank you. He's also live streaming this trial on his YouTube channel. So if you have a chance, subscribe. I know Dylan is both on YouTube and Rumble. So if you wouldn't mind following those great people. Dylan is covering the Travis Rudolph trial. I'm not sure if that's a rewatch. It's a former NFL player, I believe. And Jay is covering the Bliefnick trial. I just met him just this week. I noticed that he was another one that's attempting to cover this trial. So back over here. So if you have a chance, just follow that. I'm going to be in the background here, cobbling together day 5's testimony with the tweets. So I'll be watching the chat. I have this playing at 1.25 times speed. I will try to fast forward through any dead spots. This is 2 hours, 21 minutes. So it should play in about hour and 40 minutes, roughly, maybe. And they do not have closed captioning turned on. I have no control over the audio. The audio is at full volume, so the quality of it I can't control. And if you don't like the video, instead of hitting a thumbs down, could you just put a comment like, this is horrible? Because a lot of this I don't have any control over. And I know yesterday somebody thumbs downed it, and it hurt my feelers. Okay, so let's just make sure that we are here. All right, so I'll be in the background here, working away. My back is killing me, but I am here for you.
Attorneys Josh Jones and Laura Keck, and we are ready to start or continue with the trial.
Oh, I forgot to mention, the shaming of Jay has some really good tea on this Judge Adrian. Apparently his wife is all over social media, specifically I believe Facebook, which I haven't used in many years, aside from posting like my son's graduation pictures and some cross country and track events. But he, on his Twitter page, has some screenshots. It's quite interesting. And Wednesday, if you watch the Wednesday afternoon live stream of this trial on my channel, I did point out that Judge Adrian also presided over the Bliefnick's divorce hearings that they had, and I thought that was weird. And Jay also mentioned it this morning. And I'm like, yeah, I noticed that on Wednesday. So, and Casey Schnack represented Tim during the divorce. Again, I'm pretty sure I mentioned that also on Wednesday. So, I don't know. This case from start to finish has just been kind of a cluster, in my opinion. You know, it doesn't need to be this difficult. We've got video. Just freaking release the video, for crying out loud. I don't get it. I don't get it. All right. I'm done complaining. I said I wasn't going to. My apologies.
Today, and ladies and gentlemen in the audience, going to give you the cell phone admonishment again. You're allowed to have cell phones in the courthouse.
Okay, we're going to pass
You will
forward.
not be allowed back in until the next day. That does not include taps or anything we need to bring up.
And basically, Your Honor, the Aldi bag pieces that were taken from 2528 Kentucky Road, they're actually two separate exhibits, 241 and 242.
Okay. And then anything else, Mr. Jones?
No, Your Honor.
Anything else, Ms. Schnack?
No, Your Honor.
All right, then let's bring in the jury. Right hand and be sworn by the clerk.
Okay, it's the first witness. Go back to my notes. And I'll be putting this in the
Right here in this chair.
comments. Or in the banners.
Right, and then kind of scoot up to the table to where you're comfortable, and then bend
Gary
that
Collins.
microphone so
This should
it's
be
in
Gary
front of you, and
Collins.
please speak towards the microphone. You may inquire.
Thank you, Your Honor. Could you tell us your name, please?
Gary
Gary Collins.
Collins, employee from Indy.
I live in Ohio right now.
Did you, before
Right, and then kind of scoot up to the table to where you're comfortable.
I can't
and then
hear.
Bend that microphone so it's in front of you, and please speak towards the microphone. You may inquire.
Thank you, Your Honor. Could you tell us your name, please?
Gary Collins.
Okay, let me put it on pause. Okay, so his testimony will be, if I can see, Gary Collins, a Quincy recycle employee from Indiana and acquaintances of the Bliefnicks. Collins reveals that Tim worked at Quincy Recycle, Quincy Farm Products. According to Collins, Becky confided in him about Tim hiding money, causing her concern. Collins advised her to obtain a protective order as Becky expressed fear of Tim's actions. During cross-examination, Schnack will question him about the closeness of Collins and Becky's relationship. Collins admits that they had been in recent contact. Speaking of contact, I really need to replace these because they're kind of blurry. Schnack reiterates Collins' statement that Tim wouldn't engage in such behavior as supported by Becky's perspective. So that's what we're going to hear from this guy.
Collins, where do you live?
I live in Ohio right now.
Did you, before you lived in Ohio, live somewhere else?
Yes, I lived in Indiana.
Based on the time that you lived in Indiana, did you know two individuals by the name of Becky and Tim Bliefnick?
Yes.
Do you see Tim Bliefnick here in court today?
Yes, I do.
Could you tell us where he's sitting and what he's wearing?
He's sitting by the blonde lady, and he has a gray, looks like a gray shirt on.
If the witness has, if the record can reflect that the witness has identified the defendant, please.
The record will reflect that the witness has identified the defendant.
Tell us how you knew Becky and Tim Bliefnick. Becky and Tim Bliefnick.
Tim and I worked together at Quincy Recycle in New Haven, Indiana.
After Becky and Tim moved to Quincy, you later moved to Ohio. Did you keep in contact off and on with Becky and Tim?
Yes, I did.
And specifically, did you keep in contact with Becky Bliefnick over your phone?
Yes, I did.
Did you have her contact information saved in your phone?
Yes, I did.
How was that saved in your phone?
Becky Bliefnick.
When you spoke with Becky Bliefnick over the phone with that contact, did you recognize the voice?
Yes, ma'am.
Was that the same person that you knew in person as Becky Bliefnick?
Yes, ma'am.
During the course of the ongoing divorce proceedings between Becky and Tim, did you have conversations with Becky?
Yes, ma'am.
During those conversations, did Becky tell you that she believed that Tim was hiding money and not showing all of the assets he had?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you also have a conversation in June or July of 2022 with Becky?
Yes, ma'am.
During that conversation, did she tell you that she did not want Tim's dad to be around their boys?
Yes, ma'am.
Did there also come a time during that June or July of 2022 conversation where Becky became emotional?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me how she was.
She was distraught. You could tell she was crying enormously. She was crying really bad.
During that time while she was crying and distraught, did she say to you, if anything ever happens to me, it was Tim?
Yes, ma'am.
What did you tell her when she said that?
I told her that Tim wouldn't do it.
Mr. Collins, at the time, you were actually a police officer in Ohio, is that correct?
No, it was in Indiana.
I'm sorry. Did you do a police report?
No, ma'am.
Did you contact Becky's attorney?
No, ma'am.
Did you tell Becky to get help?
I told her to get a protective order.
Did you contact anyone on her behalf?
No, ma'am.
Do you wish that you would have?
Very much so.
Thank you, Your Honor. No other questions.
The court has allowed at least part of that testimony over the objection of defense counsel. That objection was made pre-trial. The court overruled that objection. The court considers that objection and overrules that objection for the same reasons that the court did pre-trial. And then Ms. Schnock, you have questions?
Yes, Mr. Collins, I just have a few questions for you, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you consider Becky a close friend of yours?
She was a acquaintance.
Okay, an acquaintance.
Yes.
When was the last time you would have seen her personally?
We went to a Christmas party. It's been years.
Several years?
Yes, ma'am.
And when was the last time you would have seen Tim?
The last time I went and picked up the car, it was probably 5 to 6 years ago.
Okay. Would you and Becky talk about things other than the divorce?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And your response to Becky when she said, if anything happens to me, it was Tim, you told Becky that Tim wouldn't do it, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And during your conversations, was there a lot of venting going on about the party's divorce?
Yes, ma'am.
No other questions, Judge?
Any questions?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, you may step down. And then is he released from his subpoena?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay. So you're free to go, sir. All right, thank you. Call your next witness.
Your Honor, the people would call Jared Evans.
Sir, if you'll step up to the front of the courtroom, please. And if you would raise your right hand and be sworn by the clerk.
You do solemnly swear that the testimony you may give in the cause now be made before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Okay. If you'll come around here, have a seat right here.
Okay, now this is Jared Evans. He was Tim's boss at Quincy Farm Products. Supervisor Quincy Farm Products testifies that Tim was an employee who worked remotely and had his own designated work laptop. The prosecution presents Tim's work laptop as evidence, and Evans verifies that it belonged to Tim. During cross, Schnack inquires about Tim's work activities during the week Becky was killed. Evans states that nothing seemed unusual or out of the ordinary in Tim's work performance during that time. So that's this guy here.
This chair. And then kind of scoot up to the table to where you're comfortable and bend that microphone up so it's in front of you, and please speak towards the microphone. You may inquire.
Thank you, Your Honor. Can you tell us your name, please?
Jared Evans.
Mr. Evans, how are you employed?
I work at Quincy Farm Products.
During your time at Quincy Farm Products, did you have an employee by the name of Tim Bliefnick?
I did.
Were you basically Mr. Bliefnick's boss?
Yes.
How long did Mr. Bliefnick work for you at Quincy Farm Products?
I don't know right off the top of my head, but like probably close to 3 years.
During that time, did you have regular conversations with Mr. Bliefnick?
Yes.
During that time, would you talk to Mr. Bliefnick, or would he talk to you about working out?
Yes.
Was that something he did regularly based on his comments to you?
Yes.
With working at Quincy Farm Products, is that something where people are sometimes allowed to work remotely?
Yes.
Was Tim Bliefnick one of the people allowed to work remotely?
Yes, he was.
Was he also assigned a specific laptop?
Yes.
That laptop that he specifically assigned, does he share that with other employees?
No.
When a laptop is provided to a person such as Mr. Bliefnick, is it a brand new laptop?
Yes, it is.
So nobody else has used it at that time?
That's correct.
When did you give Mr. Bliefnick his most recent laptop?
Estimation of 2021 sometime in the year.
Were you contacted by the Quincy Police Department and asked to obtain Mr. Bliefnick's work laptop from him?
Yes, it was.
Was that obtained from his residence on Hampshire Street?
Yes, it was.
Mr. Evans, I'm going to have Mr. Jones here open this and mark as People's Exhibit 215.
Your Honor, do I have permission of the court to break the seal and open that, please?
You do. And the record should reflect that Mr. Jones is using a pair of scissors to cut open the paper of the exhibit.
You know, is it too much to have their
Mr.
actual
Mr.
voices
Jones
be
is
louder
holding
than the
up a
crinkle paper?
laptop in his hands. Is that the laptop that was assigned to Tim Bliefnick?
Yes.
Was that the specific laptop that you went to his residence at 1641 Hampshire Street and collected directly from Tim Bliefnick?
Yes.
That was collected after Becky Bliefnick had been murdered, is that correct?
Correct.
After you collected it from Tim Bliefnick, did you provide it to detectives with the Quincy Police Department?
Yes, I did.
You did not open it,
Did not.
did not do anything with that?
No, I did not.
Do you see Tim Bliefnick here in court today?
I do.
Could you tell us where he's sitting, what he's wearing?
Kind of a brown pullover at the end of the bench there.
Your Honor, next, the record reflect the witness has identified the defendant.
The record shall reflect that the witness has identified the defendant.
Your Honor, I ask that People's Exhibit 215 be admitted into evidence, please.
Any objection, Ms. Schnock?
No, Your Honor.
It will be admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. No other questions.
Questions, Ms. Schnock?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Evans, I just have a few questions for you, okay?
Yep.
Did Tim ever work for you in any other capacity at Quincy Recycle?
Yes.
Okay, and when was that?
I would have to, you want me to give you some estimations of what I think I remember? Or,
That would be fine.
yeah, maybe 2004-ish, maybe 5-ish, somewhere right in there through 2011 or 12-ish, somewhere in there.
All right, and was this current position that he had with you the first position where he was given the latitude to work from home?
Yes.
Okay, and did that start in 2021?
It really started with the day that he came to work for Quincy Farm Products, which I'd have to give you his date, his
Okay.
start date. I don't know the exact.
All right, so he's always had the latitude to do that with you,
Correct,
correct?
correct.
And he did not start off working in an office and then move over to working remotely, correct?
Correct.
And was he still working remotely in February of 2023?
Correct.
Okay, and the week of Rebecca's death, was there anything unusual with respect to the business activity that you were aware that Tim was doing?
No,
He wasn't asking off for work?
he did not.
Okay, he was not asking for a leave of absence for any particular reason?
No,
He was not missing meetings?
no,
He was not showing up late to work meetings or events or anything like that?
no,
Did he seem stressed or any more distressed than you had already seen him to be during that time?
no.
No other questions, Judge?
Any redirect?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
You may step down. You
We
free,
would release him from his subpoena, Your Honor.
Ms. Schnock?
No objection.
All right, you're free to go.
You do solemnly swear that
My name is Mark, M-A-R-K.
Oh, you can't see that very good, can you? Shoot. Never mind. Let me just read it then. Mark Sheftick. He's an Illinois State Police Crime Lab investigator, specializing in digital forensics. Josh Jones is going to present him Tim's laptop, and he's going to confirm it's his, the device that he analyzed. Sheftick also mentions having an external hard drive where he transferred Tim's files. During cross-examination, Schnack inquires if Sheftick, say that 3 times fast, received specific instructions on which data to extract from the laptop. Sheftick responds, stating that all the data from the laptop was transferred to the hard drive, implying a comprehensive extraction. That's what we got coming up here, people. Again, I'm doing the best I can.
Sheftick, Sheftick.
Now, it sounds like you've done this before. What do you do for work?
I work for the Illinois State Police in the Digital Crimes Unit. I'm a digital forensic examiner.
What is a digital forensic examiner?
Our jobs are to, we receive in digital evidence from investigators that will submit to our office, and then we will process that evidence for anything of evidentiary value to investigators.
In layman's terms, they give you computers and cell phones, and you get information off of computers and cell phones?
Yes.
Did you get any special training for that, any certifications to know how to do this?
Yes, I've received about 600 hours of training and have gotten a certification from the International Association of Computer Investigative Specialists, which is the BCFE. It is the Basic Computer Forensic Examiner.
And how long have you been a digital forensic examiner?
I've been doing this job for about 6 years come July.
I want to talk to you in a general sense about how that process works. Let's say, for example, a police officer or a detective gives you a computer and asks you to download the files from that computer for him so that he can examine them. How do you do that? What do you do?
So to start with, it will have been submitted to our office and will be in our vault. So I will receive the evidence from our vault custodian. I'll open the evidence packaging. I'll typically examine the device and record any information like manufacturer, model of the device, serial numbers that might be external. And then for computers especially, we'll remove the storage device, a hard drive or a solid state drive that might be internal. And then I will connect that to something known as a write blocker, which is a physical device that will prevent any data from being written back to the evidence.
When you stop you there, so you say a write blocker and it prevents information being written back to the hard drive or the solid state drive?
Yes.
Tell me what that means.
So if our job is to examine the data on the device, when you hook up hard drives to computers, normally the operating system will write data to that drive. It's trying to record what the drive is and then register it to its own system. So we will use write blockers to prevent data from being written to the drive. We don't want to alter any data on the evidence. We just want to make a copy that we then will examine later.
If I was using a different type of evidence, let's say it's a physical piece of evidence, would it be like wearing gloves when you're touching the physical evidence, so you're putting DNA or fingerprints on that physical piece of evidence?
That would be a similar type activity, yes.
In this case, were you given a computer and asked to download the information off that computer?
Yes, I was.
And you told us you would have attached it to a write blocker that would prevent information being written onto it, is that right?
Correct.
After you attach it to a write blocker, tell me how you download that information. Is there a program that you use, or what steps do you use to get the information off of that computer?
We have several programs that we use. In this case, I used a program by a company named Magnet, and the program itself was Axiom, A-X-I-O-M, and it is a forensic software suite that can read data from devices connected to a write blocker and then process them through for the information that we can then export out in a package that we can give to our investigators.
And did you do that in this case? You attached the computer to the write blocker to that Axiom, is that right? That
Yes.
Axiom program, and then the Axiom program downloaded that information, you put it on a hard drive and provided that hard drive to the Quincy.
Yes.
I'm going to show you what's been introduced in evidence as People's Exhibit 215, and I'll show it to you first in the bag. Are there some markings on that you know that this was something that you examined?
Yes. When I sealed the packaging up after examination, I included my initials and my ID number.
And I'm going to take out what was in 215. Is that the computer that you were asked to examine?
It appears to be, yes.
After you attached it to the write blocker and the Axiom program, did you confirm that both the write blocker and the Axiom program were working appropriately, doing what they were supposed to do?
Yes, the reports generated by the program will use a value called a hash value, which is a mathematical algorithm that takes a large set of data and condenses it down to a much smaller value. And so it compares the original to the acquisition. And if they match, then we know that it's a valid acquisition.
And in this case, did that match?
Yes.
Was it therefore a valid acquisition?
Yes.
After you confirmed that it was a valid acquisition, did you then put that information on a hard drive that could be provided to the Quincy Police Department to examine?
Yes.
And Your Honor, I have in my hand People's 162. If I can approach a witness.
You may.
On Peoples 162, it's an exhibit number, lab number of 227, and it says one sealed envelope with verbatim store and go 1 terabyte external hard drive. Does that sound familiar to you?
Yes, that's the description of the drive.
And Your Honor, if I get permission to open that and show him the hard drive.
You may.
And again, for the record, I'm just cutting open the packaging that hard drive is included in. And does that appear to be the hard drive that you would have put that information in?
Yes, it appears to be.
And in fact, just a few days ago, did we have a meeting over Zoom where we opened that hard drive with you and showed you the files that were on the hard drive?
Yes.
And were those in fact the files that you put on it?
Yes.
Now, I want to be specific on this hard drive. There are multiple files on this hard drive, correct?
Correct.
Specifically, in this regard, the information that you put on this hard drive that relates to this laptop is under exhibit number 47, is that correct?
Yes.
So if you open up this hard drive and you look for exhibit 47, that's where the information from this laptop is found.
Yes.
And there's some other information on this that relates to a cell phone that we'll talk about with a different witness, fair to say?
Yes.
Your Honor, we would ask that Peoples 162 be admitted into evidence at this point, Your Honor.
Ms. Stock, any objection?
No.
The court is going to admit 162 that contains the exhibit number 47. The court will admit that. If there's other information on there, we need a foundation
apologize.
for that.
I apologize, Your Honor, we're only talking about exhibit 47 on 160.
Okay.
That's the issue.
That will be admitted.
Sorry, I do have one more set of questions. That information, you looked at some of the information on that computer, is that right?
Yes.
Do you know what UTC time is?
Yeah, it stands for Universal Time Code.
I'm going to stop you there because yesterday we got this really long explanation of UTC. Is UTC -6 to get Quincy time, Central Time?
It is.
If it's not daylight savings?
Yeah. Daylight savings is when it shifts.
But that's what it is. UTC time -6 gets to Quincy time specifically for February 23rd if it's not in daylight savings, correct?
Yes.
The files on that computer are in, or some of them are in UTC time, is that correct?
Yes.
Some of them are not, and you can look at the files to determine what's on UTC time and what's not.
Yes.
And it's clear on those files which ones are in UTC and which ones aren't, correct?
Yes.
Thank you, that's all the questions I have.
Cross, Ms. Stock.
Thank you, sir. I just have a few questions for you, okay? When you did your specific, I guess, data dump in this matter, were you given any specific direction or parameters on what to pull off of that computer?
No, for an acquisition, it pulls everything on the drive. It's called a bit-for-bit copy, so it should be every bit of data on the storage device will come off to the acquisition.
Okay, so essentially you're making a copy of everything that was on the device given to you, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and it's a digital copy?
Yes.
Fair, okay. No other questions, Judge?
Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
All right, you may step down, and I believe you're free to go. Mr. Jones, is he free to go?
He is. I think he's given our next witness a ride back, though, so we should probably
Okay.
wait for him.
All right. Well, that's up to you, sir.
People would call Kip Bauman to the stand.
Okay, now Kip Bauman is the next witness to testify. And Jones is going to present him with an iPhone 13 and an iPad. And then he'll confirm that he was able to unlock both devices and retrieve all the data. There'll be another phone that he examined and extracted data from. Cross-examination will be Schnack asking him if he retrieved all the data without selectively choosing specific information, which he will confirm that he indeed did not cherry-pick the content. And also, people, in about 15-20 minutes, I'm going to go run to the chiropractor quick and see if he can't unnotch the bottom of my back. So I'll be back before the video is done, but I probably won't be able to provide any type of like commentary. So I'm going to put this ticker on the bottom that'll have all the witnesses. After this guy will be Michael Price, who works for the surveillance company, then Lynn Breeden, who worked for the public school security personnel. And then the last witness, Emily Pizzella, CSI Quincy Police Department. She is the CSI who responded, and her testimony is very, very long. And she'll be the last one of the morning. But I will be back before this video is done. I just won't be able to do any audio or commentary over it or change the banners out. So I'm just going to put the witnesses in the very bottom ticker. And then hopefully by the time I get back, the afternoon video will be ready, and then we can go through that. I'm sorry about any frustration you are feeling right now, because I feel it too, as well as pain in my back. So, okay, back to this.
In.
Mr. Baumann, what do you do for a living?
I work for the Illinois State Police.
What do you do for the Illinois State Police?
I'm a digital forensic examiner.
Can you tell me, in your own words, what a digital forensic examiner is?
Or I should say, I extract cell phones, computers, DVRs, pull the information off, create a forensic image, and hand that off to an investigator.
People give you computers, cell phones, ask you to get the information off them. You do that and give them the information.
That is correct.
Let's talk in a general sense how you do that. Let's talk about just like a simple cell phone, flip phone, something like that. Have you done that before?
Yes, I have.
On a phone like that, how do you get the information off it?
I connected up to something similar to a gray key machine or a forensic computer, and using proprietary software, it extracts all the information, and then I run that through a processor and spit that out to the investigator.
Now, if a the cell phone has a passcode, does that make it more difficult to get the information off of it?
Yes, it does.
Explain that for me.
What the gray key machine will do is attempt a passcode about once a minute to every 10.5 minutes, depending upon the phone. And it's just a random set of numbers, anywhere from a 4-digit to a 6-digit number. And if it hits it, great. If not, it moves on to the next number.
So basically, the computer's trying every passcode, and if it gets one, great, and if not, it just keeps moving on.
That is correct.
Have you heard that called a brute force attack?
Yes, it is.
The newer the cell phone is, the more difficult it is to get into the cell phone.
That is correct.
In this case, were you given a cell phone, specifically People's Exhibit 218, which has already been introduced into evidence? It is lab number 111. Were you given that cell phone?
Yes, I was.
What kind of cell phone is that?
I believe that's an iPhone 13, I think.
Was it passcode protected?
Yes, it was.
So if you don't have the passcode, you can't get onto that phone.
That is correct.
Did you have the passcode when you were first given that phone?
Not really, no.
In the course of your investigation, did you attach that phone to Gray Key to start that process?
Yes, I did.
In the course of your investigation, were you also given an iPad?
Yes.
And did you do the same thing with the iPad and attach that to the Gray Key brute force machine?
Yes.
The iPad was an older model?
Correct.
And when you attached it to Gray Key, were you successful in getting a passcode for that iPad?
Yes, I was.
When you got the number for that iPad, did you say, hey, let's give it a shot and see if it works on the phone?
Yes, quite a few times that a person will use the same passcode on multiple devices.
Did you use it on that phone?
Yes, I did.
Did that passcode work?
Yes, it did.
At which point you were able to get into the phone?
That is correct.
Once you get into the phone, tell me the process of how you download the information off of that phone.
Once I connect the phone, the unlocked phone, to the Gray Key device, it does its little magic stuff and spits out an exact image of what is on that phone.
Okay, I'm gonna stop you there because magic little stuff. The magic little stuff, that's proprietary information that you've signed a non-disclosure agreement. Illinois State Police has signed a non-disclosure agreement with Gray Key where you are not allowed to disclose the magic stuff that it does to get that information.
That is correct.
But once it does its magic stuff, you get that information, what do you do with it?
Because what it pulls off are databases, relational databases, and images. We run that through a processor which links all those databases together. It puts them into a very nice user format and spits that out into a report.
And the report is then provided to the police, and the police look through the report to determine if there's anything relevant to this.
That is correct.
You don't look through the report to determine if there's anything relevant. That's not your job.
That is not my job at this point, no.
I apologize, I should have asked this before. I assume you've gotten some specialized training to do this?
Yes, I am.
Can you describe that for us?
I am certified as a Gray Key operator. I'm also certified as a Celebrite physical analyzer and Celebrite operator.
In this case, after you were given that iPhone, that lab exhibit 111, Did you do all those steps?
Yes, I did. I ran it through, I used Gray Key to pull the information off, then I used a Celebrite Physical Analyzer to make it look pretty, and then gave that report off to the investigator.
Did you confirm that both the Gray Key and the Cellbrite physical analyzer were working appropriately, doing what they were supposed to do?
Yes,
And is that a bit-for-bit extraction? In other words, anything on the cell phone is transferred to that report?
yes, it is.
Once it is transferred to that report, you put that report on a hard drive?
Yes, I do.
And did you do that in this case?
Yes, I did.
If I can approach witness, Your Honor?
You may.
I'm going to show you what's been marked People's Exhibit 162. On the cover, it says verbatim, store and go 1 terabyte external hard drive containing portable case files. And I'll take that out.
That appears to be the hard drive I put everything on.
And in fact, a few days ago, did you have a Zoom meeting with myself and Ms. Cackins, the detective at the Quincy Police Department?
Yes, I did.
And did we open up that hard drive and show you the files on the hard drive?
Yes, you did.
And was one of those files specifically exhibit number 111, that's how it's listed on that hard drive?
Yes, it is.
And is that the download from People's Exhibit 218 that I previously showed you, this iPhone?
Yes, it is.
And again, we confirmed that that was the same report that you generated.
That is correct, yes.
Your Honor, we'd ask that People's Exhibit 162, specifically Exhibit 111, that file on this hard drive, be admitted into evidence.
Ms. Schnock, any objection?
No.
That will be admitted, specifically Exhibit 111 on People's Exhibit 162. You may proceed.
Were you also given People's Exhibit 216? It's lab number 2. Were you given that phone as well?
Yes, I was.
And did you perform those same steps that you've already shared with us on the other exhibit, on this exhibit as well?
Yes, I was given the passcode for that phone up front, though, so
Easier on this one.
yeah, it was easier on that phone.
And once you did those same steps, did you then put that information, that Cellbrite report, if you will, on a hard drive?
Yes, I did.
And again, I'm going to show you what's been marked People's Exhibit 217. It's a sealed envelope with computer accessory stored on a black drive. Do you recognize that?
Yes,
In fact, just a few days ago, in that Zoom meeting, did we open up that hard drive for you as well? And did you confirm that the Cellbrite report from People's Exhibit 2, well, I apologize, People's Exhibit 216, lab item 2, is what's on this hard drive?
yes, I did. Yes,
And again, for the record, that's the only thing on this hard drive.
that is correct.
And once again, that was a complete and accurate copy of the information from the cell phone in this case.
Correct.
Your Honor, we'd ask that People's Exhibit 217 be introduced to that.
Any objection, Ms. Schnock? No. 217 will be admitted.
One last question, I apologize. On the cell phone data, did you look at any of that cell phone data at all?
No.
Thank you, that's all the questions I have.
Questions, Ms. Schnock?
Yes, sir, I just have a few questions for you that won't take long. With respect to either extractions that you did, were there any specific parameters or instructions that you were given in what to look for, or was this just a general data dump off of the device?
Just a general data dump.
So anything that was on that device was then copied in electronic form onto another device for investigative purposes. Am I dumbing that down correctly?
Yeah.
Okay. No other questions, Judge?
Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
All right, you may step down. And is he free to go?
Yes.
All right, you are free to go if you can find a ride. All right. All right, call your next witness.
Your Honor, the people would call Michael Price.
Okay, and while we're waiting, if you want to stand up and stretch, you may do that. All right, please be seated.
Thank you.
Sir, you can step up to the front of the courtroom, raise your right hand, be sworn by the clerk.
You do solemnly swear that the testimony you may give in the cause of opinion before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
If you'll come around here and have a seat right here in this chair. And then scoot up to the table to where you're comfortable. And then bend that microphone so it's in front of you and speak towards the microphone, please.
Okay.
You may inquire.
Thank you, Your Honor. Could you tell us your name, please?
Michael Price.
Okay, you're going to have to scoot up more to the microphone. Okay.
Michael Price.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Price, how are you employed?
I work for United Systems.
Tell us what United Systems is.
We do a lot of Well, pretty much any low voltage work, fire, security alarms, camera work.
You said camera work, is part of what you do is provide surveillance cameras for homes or businesses if people want to have those installed.
That's correct.
What specifically do you do for United Systems?
Well, we all do a variety of, we're not really locked into one particular thing.
Is one of the things that you do is install those surveillance systems?
Yes,
And do you also keep upkeep of those and monitor those for people?
yes.
Specifically, does United Systems have cameras installed at a residence at 224 South 20th Street here in Quincy, Adams County, Illinois?
That's correct.
Were you contacted by the Quincy Police Department to obtain some videos from that residence?
I was, yes.
And specifically, did they ask you to provide video for any video that was available from during a certain period in February of 2023, during the early morning hours, late evening hours during February of 2023?
That's correct.
And specifically, did you provide them 3 separate videos from February 14th, 2023, February 21st, 2023, and February 22nd, 2023?
That's correct.
Mr. Price, I'm showing you what's been marked as People's Exhibit 80. Is that in here, the flash drive of what you provided the police with those videos?
That's correct.
When you looked at those videos, did it appear to be that the video was working correctly and capturing what was occurring during that time period?
Yeah, they were.
Was there one problem with the video?
Yeah, the time was off.
Specifically, did you determine that the time was actually showing?
Okay, I just want to remind you that I have no control over the audio in this thing we're watching here. This guy here is Michael Price. He installs surveillance systems for Quincy Systems or United Systems of Quincy, and he obtained the video from a residence on South 20th Street during February 23rd at the request of Quincy Police Department. After him will be Lynn Breeden, who works for the Quincy Public Schools in the security personnel. She is going to be questioned about the security cameras located at Bus Barn on 20th and Hampshire. It's revealed Quincy Department requested the footage on February 22nd and 23rd and March 13th. So remember, Becky was found dead on the 23rd. During cross-examination, Schnack is going to inquire whether any additional footage outside. Now here they have February 13th, March 12th, 13th, and March 13th. That doesn't make sense. Again, I'm getting this information from Muddy Rivers News. Jesus God, how hard can this be, really? And then the last witness is going to be Emily Pizzella. She's the CSI at Quincy Police Department, and her testimony will take up most of this video. We're 42 minutes, and we're playing at 1.25 speed. There is no closed captioning. So as soon as he's done, and then this lady will go over, so she'll be on. Okay, I'm going to scoot to go to the chiropractor. So I apologize, but I'm dying over here, my back. But I should be back by the time this video is over. And then hopefully the afternoon video will be ready and we can just zippity-doo right into that one. Again, I put a banner up here that says both AM and PM witness testimony is pinned to my Twitter profile. So if you just want to look at that instead of watching this horrible audio, feel free. And then there's a ticker on the bottom that shows the witnesses. So it's this guy, then the lady from the school, and then the majority of afternoon testimony will be this Emily Pizzella. Okay, I'm done talking for reals now.
1 hour ahead.
That's correct.
So for example, if it showed 1:31, it's actually 12:31.
Right.
Other than that, was everything about the video working correctly?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'd ask that People's Exhibit 80 be admitted into evidence.
Any objection?
No.
People's Exhibit number 80 will be admitted.
Your Honor, I have no other questions for Mr. Price. Thank you.
Ms. Stock, any questions?
Just a few. Mr. Price, I just have a few quick questions for you, if not less. Did you verify that the dates that were pulled off of the videos were accurate?
Yes,
Okay. And was this a private residence or a business that this video was pulled from?
a private residence.
And were you asked to assist in providing investigators with any other surveillance video from any other residence or business in the area?
No.
No other questions, Judge?
Any redirect?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
You may step down. Is he excused?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you.
You're free to go.
Your Honor, the people would call Lynn Breeden.
The whole truth and
Just a little.
Lynn Breeden.
Or not Breeden. Ms. Breeden, how are you employed?
I work at Quincy Public Schools.
What,
Quincy Public Schools.
what do you do for Quincy Public Schools?
I'm the security secretary.
As the security secretary, do you ensure that all of the different video cameras that the Quincy Public Schools are working correctly and are assisting security with what they need?
Yes,
Specifically, does the Quincy Public Schools have a security camera located at the bus barn at 121 North 20th Street here in Quincy?
they do.
And does that security system camera run continuously?
Yes,
So it runs during the day and runs during the night?
yes,
As part of the investigation, were you contacted by a school resource officer, Aaron Dush, to get certain security video from the bus barn, from that camera?
yes,
Did she first ask you to get some video from February 22nd and February 23rd, 2023?
yes,
That was several hours of video, correct?
it was.
Did she then ask you to get some additional video?
Yes,
Was that video, all video from midnight to 3 a.m. from March 13th, 2023, or I'm sorry, February 13th, 2023 to February 28th, 2023?
yes,
When you viewed that video, were the cameras working correctly?
they were.
The video was accurately recording the area in front of the bus barn.
Yes,
Were the dates and times also correct on that video?
yes,
Did they then also later ask you to provide a video from March 13th, 2023?
yes,
And again, that video was also working correctly, is that right?
yes,
Ms. Braden, I'm showing you what's been marked as People's Exhibit 177. Does that contain multiple flash drives with all of the video you provided to the Quincy Police Department?
yes,
Your Honor, I'd ask that People's Exhibit 177 be admitted into evidence.
Any objection, Ms. Schnock?
No, Your Honor.
People's Exhibit 177 will be admitted.
No other questions, Your Honor, thank you.
Cross, Ms. Schnock?
Thank you. Ma'am, I just have a few follow-up questions, okay? As far as the dates that you searched for, I just want to make sure I have those dates right, that you were asked to search for video between February 13th of 2023 as well as through February 28th of 2023, correct?
yes,
Were you asked to check for video for any dates before February 13th of 2023?
no,
Were you asked to search for video for any dates after February 28th of 2023?
no, it wasn't.
Okay, and what you provided was simply what QPD asked for, correct?
Yes,
And you didn't look for anything outside of those dates, correct?
no, I didn't.
And you were not asked to look for anything outside of those dates, correct?
Correct.
No other questions, Judge?
Redirect.
Ms. Breeden, I just want to clarify one thing. The specific time period you were asked for was February 13th, 2023 to February 28th, 2023, but then they did later ask for a specific video from March 13th as well, is that right?
It's been a while. I'm sorry. I can't recall that for sure.
No other questions, Your Honor.
You may step down.
Thank you.
All right, is she free to go? Is she released?
She's released,
All
Your
right,
Honor.
ma'am, you are free to go. Thank you. Who would you like next?
You approach.
You may. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to take our morning break right now. You will have approximately 20 minutes for your break. So if we'll take our break then to be refreshed for the next witness, and we will be in recess.
All right. May be seated.
All right. Council, be ready at 10 after the work. All right, because the next witness will be rather lengthy.
I believe the next witness will probably be at least an hour, if not a little more.
Okay, we will be in recess.
Ladies and gentlemen.
We are on the record on 23 CF 170, People versus Timothy Bliefnick. Mr. Bliefnick appears in person and with counsel, Ms. Casey Schnock. People appear by Assistant State's Attorneys Josh Jones and Laura Keck. And Ms. Keck, anything we need to bring up before we bring the jury in?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Ms. Schnock?
No.
All right, then let's bring in the jury.
This session of court now reconvened. You may be seated.
We are continuing with the prosecution's case in chief, and Mr. Jones, you have additional evidence.
I do.
You call your next witness.
Can I wait for Ms. Keck to get back with my additional evidence?
You
It's
may.
downstairs in the basement, so
Oh, yes, you may.
it's my fault, Your Honor. I was supposed to grab it this morning,
And you let the lady do it.
and Ms. Keck told me to, and I failed to listen.
All married women understand that, Mr. Jones.
That's why you're ex-wife.
That's why my ex-wife is back there.
Didn't want to point that out.
It's okay, Judge, we were all thinking it. Told me it was my fault. Now I'm ready, Your Honor.
All right, you may call your next witness.
People would call Emily Pizzella.
If you'll step to the front of the courtroom, please. Then raise your right hand to be sworn by the clerk.
You do solemnly swear that the testimony may give in the cause now pending before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
If you'll come around here and have a seat right here in this chair. And scoot up to the table and bend the microphone in front of you, and you may inquire.
Can you tell me your name, please?
Emily Pizzella.
Ms. Pizzella, what do you do for a living?
I am a crime scene technician with the Quincy Police Department.
What's a crime scene technician?
I process crime scenes.
What does that mean?
I collect evidence. I take photographs. I look for things throughout the crime scene and I document them.
Look for fingerprints.
Yes,
Swab for DNA.
yes,
Photographs of the crime scene.
yes,
Collection of evidence.
yes,
Did I say photographs?
yes.
How long have you been doing that?
14 and a half years.
Did you receive any special training for that?
Yes.
Can you describe that for me?
I have a bachelor's science degree in crime scene investigation along with numerous years of training.
Were you called to a crime scene at 2528 Kentucky Road here in Quincy on February 23rd, 2023?
Yes.
When you arrived at the crime scene, did you take multiple photographs?
Yes.
I'm going to hand you what has been marked People's Exhibit 17 through 68. And I'm going to ask you to look through all those and tell me when you've had a chance to review those. I know there's a lot of them, but we're all waiting. You had a chance to look at all those?
Yes.
Are those all photographs that you took of the crime scene at 2528 Kentucky Road on February 23rd, 2023?
There are a few that were taken by somebody else, but the majority of them, yes, I took them.
All the photographs that you observed there, even if you didn't take them yourself, do they accurately show what you observed at the crime scene in each of those photos?
Yes.
Your Honor, we'd ask that People's Exhibit 17 through 68 be admitted into evidence. Actually, I think some of them already have been, but the ones that haven't been, we'd ask that those be admitted into evidence and then leave to publish those with this witness in a presentation.
Ms. Schnock, you've had an opportunity to see those pre-trial, correct?
I have, Your Honor.
And do you have any objection to any of those exhibits?
No.
All right. 17 through 68 will all be admitted.
Twenty-five, 28 Kentucky. If you go to the first slide. Ms. Pizzella, what are we looking at here?
This is a diagram of the second floor of the residence at 2528 Kentucky Road.
Does it appear to be, I understand it's not to scale, but other than that, does it appear to be accurate based on your memory and your time in the upstairs of that residence?
Yes.
Were you also in the downstairs of that residence?
Yes.
And did you take photographs of the downstairs?
Yes.
Mr. Jones? Okay, that is exhibit number 17. I don't think you
I apologize, Your Honor.
actually identified that, so.
Thank you, Your Honor. If we look on this exhibit, we see several cameras all throughout. If we click on those go to different slides, is that right?
Yes.
Ms. Keck, if you could pull up that camera, please. And for the record, we now have People's Exhibit 18 on the screen. Ms. Pizzella, can you tell us what we are looking at in People's Exhibit 18?
Yes, that is the the front of the residence facing south, if you're looking at it, but it's the front of the residence at 2528 Kentucky Road.
Again, just so if we're trying to orient ourselves based on that picture, if we're looking at the house from this position, we're actually facing south.
Yes.
And the front of the house is facing north.
Yes.
And it's on, the front of the house is facing Kentucky Road.
Yes.
And I believe the next one is return to diagram. And if we could click on the back camera, please. And what are we looking at here, ma'am?
That is the back side of the residence. I would be facing a northern direction as I took that photograph, but that would be facing a southern direction.
And Your Honor, for the record, that would be People's Exhibit number 19 that is currently on the screen. Ms. Pizzella, in looking at this photograph, do you notice anything broken in this photograph?
Yes.
And can you tell us what we see that's broken?
The second story window.
If I put a laser pointer on this area right there, is that what we're talking about?
Yes.
Can you go to the next slide, please? For the record, it's People's Exhibit 20. And again, Ms. Pizzella, what are we looking at here?
That would be the west side of the residence, kind of a patio area.
And specifically, was there something unusual in this patio area that you noticed?
Yes.
And what is that?
There was a chair removed, appeared to be removed from the table area and placed against the side of the house.
And if I put the laser pointer in this area, is that what we're talking about?
Yes.
We see a patio set of furniture with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chairs around it here,
Yes.
and a 6th chair pulled into this corner against this wall.
Yes.
Next slide. People's Exhibit 21. Ms. Pizzella, is this a close-up of that same view?
Yes.
And again, the chair was in this location next to the wall.
Yes.
And is that how you observed it when you arrived on the scene?
Yes.
Leave the next slide. And Ms. Keck, if we could then go to that camera. This is People's Exhibit 22. Ms. Pizzella, what are we looking at?
That is the window that was damaged on the second floor.
So again, if we're orienting ourselves from this picture, if we're facing the house this way, we're actually facing north, and that window would be a south-facing window.
Yes.
Next one. Ms. Pizzella, again, People's Exhibit 23. What are we looking at here?
That is the damaged window on the second floor.
And Ms. Pizzella, do you notice broken glass in that window?
Yes, I do.
And a broken frame
Yes.
there?
Yes.
And a broken frame on the left side of the window as well.
Yes.
People's Exhibit 24. Again, a close-up of that window,
Yes.
showing damaged frame, broken glass, and shattered frame there as well.
Yes.
Next slide, please. People's Exhibit 25. If we could go back to 24 for just a second. Again, if we orient ourselves on this picture, if we're standing on that roof and we're facing that direction, we would actually be facing east, correct?
Yes.
So that's the front part of that window facing east.
Yeah, I'm facing east, yes.
Or, yeah,
As I take that photograph, I'm facing east.
correct. Thank you. And People's Exhibit 25, that would be facing west, the inside portion of that window.
Yes.
And again, we see damage to the frame here and along the frame there as well.
Yes.
And there was some damage to the outside part of this frame as well, correct?
Yes.
People's Exhibit 26, please. Oh, sorry, back to, we could go to the east bedroom camera. People's Exhibit 26, can you tell us what we're looking at here?
Yes, that's inside that bedroom, and it is where the window is that is damaged is contained, showing some impressions on the carpet along with the damaged window.
Specifically, when we say impression on the carpet, are we talking about this partial shoe print here on the carpet?
Yes.
And again, People's Exhibit 27, are we looking now at the inside of that window that we just viewed on the outside?
Yes.
Again, to orient ourselves, if we're facing that window, we would be facing south.
Yes.
You see damage to the frame here and here, as well as it's been pulled away from the hinges.
Yes.
People's 28, please. Again, are we looking at the upper portion of that window, again facing south?
Yes.
We see damage to the top and the top portion of this frame as well.
Yes.
People's 29. Is this the partial shoe print that you previously talked about in the prior video?
Yes.
Go forward. I then want to go to the main upstairs hallway. Again, to orient ourselves in this picture is in that hallway that we just saw, facing west.
Yes.
And what do you notice in this picture?
The metal piece laying there on the floor that appeared to be from a door.
We can go forward one, please. And what do we see here?
That is a piece of plastic.
It's a pink piece of plastic that appears to have an S. Is
Yes.
that correct? And that was found on the carpet there as well, correct?
Yes.
And that is, again, for the record, People's Exhibit 36. Can we go forward one, please? I believe we're on this camera. Again, to orient ourselves here, we're now facing south into a bedroom, is that right?
Yes.
And can you tell us when you took this photograph, or when this photograph was taken, what you noticed in the crime scene?
I noticed that there were multiple shell casings lying on the floor, along with some wood that appeared to be from the door frame.
We can go, before we see, no, okay. And we'll go ahead and go forward. This is a close-up of that door,
Yes, it is.
and do you notice anything about the door,
Yes, it had some damage to it.
specifically in the area where the laser pointer is?
Yes.
Can you go forward on this sketch, please? Is this a close-up of that damage and what appears to be damage right to the upper left of it as well?
Yes.
again, a view of that door with the 2 points of damage that we previously talked about and a scale to show relative scars.
Yes.
If we could go forward to People's 41. People's 41, again, can you help us orientate ourselves in the house? Where are we looking at now?
I am facing south, looking at that same door that we previously saw. This is just in the hallway right before you would enter into the door.
So the door that we just saw that had the damage to it is this door that's in the upper middle part of the screen.
Yes.
And what do we see in the middle of the screen?
There's a shell casing laying there.
People's 42. Again, just help us orientate ourselves. Are we now in that hallway facing east?
Yes.
And in the middle of the screen, what do we see?
That's the same shell casing from the previous photo.
And the door that we previously talked about that had the damage to it is right on the middle right part of the screen. Is that right?
Yes.
Next picture, please. People's 43. Again, can you help orientate us? Where are we at? What are we looking at?
I'm facing south again, same door, the southwest bedroom there. This is showing a little bit more of the damage done to that door off to the, it would be on the west side, or if I'm looking at it, the right side.
On the floor, are there some things that you notice?
Yes, there's shell casings and it appeared to be broken wood.
And on the left side of the picture by the door, in the area of the laser pointer, do you notice something there as well?
Yes, it was a piece of metal that appeared to be from the door frame.
People's 44, please. Is this a close-up view looking down a little bit closer?
Yes, it is.
And again, can you describe what we're looking at here?
Yes, this would be the floor just inside that bedroom containing the shell casings, the piece of wood, and also the metal from what appeared to be from the door frame.
And you can help me count, is that a shell casing?
Yes,
So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 shell casings in this area.
yes,
And then there was a shell casing that we just saw in the hallway, that'd be 8 shell casings, right?
yes,
And again, just a closer view of that piece of metal under the door and a better view of some of the damage to the door.
yes.
People's 45, please. Again, if you could help us orientate where we are we now basically in the threshold of that door facing west?
Yes.
And can you tell us what we're looking at specifically with relationship to the door frame?
This is the damage that I noticed on the door frame and also additional pieces of wood on the floor that you just couldn't see in those other photographs because of the angle I was standing in. But it shows also the shell casings.
People's 46, please. Again, a close-up view of the damage to that door.
Yes,
People's 47. Oh, back to the beginning. Before we start looking at the bedroom and the bathroom area, I would like to talk about some photographs that were taken downstairs, okay?
yes,
Ms. Keck, if you could click on the downstairs. People's Exhibit 30. Can you tell us what we're looking at here?
yes, it is a purse.
And that was where you found it,
Yes,
hanging on the wall.
yes,
Did it appear to have been disturbed?
no,
Can you go to the next photograph, please? People's 31. What are we looking at here?
this is one of the couches in the residence that had what appeared to be a laptop and a book bag containing things.
Again, if you help us orientate ourselves, this door here, that's the front door to the residence, the door that was left open at 1:12 a.m. Is that right?
Yes, this room would be off to the west side of, or as you walk in that front door to the right.
Ms. Keck, if you could go back to the slide 17, the photograph of the house. This door is what we saw there.
Yes,
And so the living room that we saw with the sofa was this, in this general area.
yes,
I apologize, Ms. Keck, if we can go back to where we just were. And go forward one slide, please. People's 32, we see a book bag and a laptop here,
yes,
as well as what book appears to be nursing theory and nursing practices.
yes.
Next slide, please. And is this a view of that book bag?
Yes, this is after items were removed from it.
And it appears that there are some credit cards and a checkbook right here as well, correct?
Yes,
Next slide, please. Again, a close-up of that laptop that was found on the sofa and a checkbook that was right next to it.
yes,
Next slide. I think we're back to it. I now want to move into the master bedroom. And let's start with this camera, Ms. Keck. Again, help us to orientate ourselves from that previous diagram. In this photograph, if we're looking in this direction, what direction is the camera pointing?
It's pointed in like a northeastern, but mostly northern direction.
And the door that we've previously seen with the damage on it is this door right here.
Yes, it is.
And the metal piece that we saw underneath the door would be right there.
Yes.
In the middle of the picture, again, can you briefly tell me what you saw or what the purpose of this picture was?
It was to show the damage, or the pieces of wood lying on the floor, along with the 7 shell casings and the metal piece that was from the door frame.
And also the HL casing that was up here on the wall.
Yes.
And also, did you notice, or do you notice a piece of plastic here in the middle right of the photograph?
Yes.
Forward one slide, please. People's 48. Can you tell me what you see here?
That would be that same door that we have been talking about. Then also it has a cell phone line behind it.
Forward one slide. And if we could go to this. Again, if you could help us orientate ourselves in this photograph. In this photograph, the camera would be facing east into the bathroom off of that main bedroom.
Yes.
Were there windows on the south side of the residence that face into this bedroom?
Yes.
Ms. Keck, if you could go back to the diagram for me, please. If you could pull up that photograph. In looking at this photograph, again, just to orientate ourselves to the crime scene, these windows were going into that main bedroom.
Yeah, that would be the master bedroom there.
Where we just were.
Yes.
Where the broken door was, the shell casing.
Yes.
These windows, do you remember where these windows went to?
The one towards the east, they're two separate. The one on the east goes into that same bedroom that has the other broken window, and I believe that other one belongs to a bathroom.
Was there any damage to these windows that go directly into the master bedroom?
No.
Any damage to this window that goes to a bathroom?
No.
Any damage to this window that goes to a bedroom?
No.
Only damage was on this particular window, correct?
Yes.
If we could go back to the master bedroom. Right there. And if we could go forward one slide to be 50. Again, if you could help us orientate ourselves on the diagram, are we now looking in to that bathroom and facing to the east?
Yes.
Let's talk about the floor. When you observe the floor, did you see anything on the floor?
Yes, I did.
Tell me what you saw.
Multiple pieces of what appeared to be plastic.
Tell me what you also observed in this photograph.
There's also what appeared to be a bullet hole underneath the sink.
In that area?
Yes.
And in the middle of the photograph, does appear to be a pair of legs.
Yes.
Do you know who those legs belong to today?
Yes, I do.
And who is it?
Rebecca Bliefnick.
If you could go forward one slide. I'm sorry, we could go to the bathroom camera. Again, if you could help us to orientate ourselves, are we now basically facing north?
Yes.
And we see, again, pieces of the plastic bag that you referred to us about.
Yes.
If you could go forward one slide. Again, pieces of the plastic bag and the victim's body facing from her feet to her head. Is that right?
Yes.
In that photograph, do you notice that you're able to see the victim's underwear?
Yes.
And can you tell me why you can see the victim's underwear?
Because the pants that the victim was wearing did not have a crotch area.
Did they appear to be designed not to have a crotch area?
Yes.
Did they appear to be designed to make it easier for someone to use the restroom after they had surgery?
Yes.
There were no tears?
No.
On her underwear, was there any tears?
No.
You go forward one slide. Again, in this photograph, you see little pieces of plastic all over the victim's body.
Yes, I do.
And again, you see no tears on her pants or no tears on her underwear. Is that right?
That is correct.
Go forward one slide. In People's 54, is this a head-down, top-down view of the victim's upper torso?
Yes.
And again, you see pieces of a plastic bag all around and on her body.
Yes.
You also notice some wounds on her arm and torso.
Yes.
People's 55. Close-up view of the victim's torso.
Yes.
Does that appear to be a bullet hole
Yes.
and pieces of plastic?
Yes.
Outside of the bullet holes on her upper torso, the clothing on her upper torso, was there any damage to any of her clothing?
No.
Any tears?
No.
Any rips?
No.
Were they disheveled in any way?
No.
Next slide, please. Close-up of the victim's right arm. Is that correct?
Yes.
People's 56 is what we have up right now. And again, do we notice multiple small pieces of a plastic bag around her body
Yes.
and a wound here to her right arm?
Yes.
People's 57. Victim's left arm.
Yes.
What do you notice about her left arm?
She appears to have a bullet hole to her hand.
People's 58. This is a close-up view of her left hand,
Yes.
showing a bullet entrance and exit wound.
I can't tell if they're entrance or
Showing
exit.
two wounds.
Yes.
People's 59. Are we looking at now the back of Ms. Bliefnick?
Yes.
What do you notice?
She has multiple holes to her back.
She was found on her back.
Yes, she was.
Also, do you notice some white padding on her side there?
Yes.
People 60. Is this the face of Becky Bliefnick as you observed it on February 23rd, 2023?
Yes, it is.
People 61. Can you tell us what we see in, let's talk about this first. Let's orientate ourselves. Was this bathtub directly to the left of the victim's body? In other words, directly to the west of her body?
Yes, it was.
And what was the purpose of this photograph? What were you documenting?
The projectile that was lying in the tub.
Is this what we're talking about?
Yes.
And again, at the bottom of that, you see pieces of a plastic bag.
Yes.
People 62. Actually, go back to people 61 for me. And in the tub, right next to that bullet, there's a piece of a plastic bag as well, isn't there?
Yes.
People 62. At this point, Becky's body's been taken from that area, is that right?
Yes.
And again, more pieces of a plastic bag.
Yes.
And in that area where I'm pointing at, what are we looking at there?
That is another projectile.
People 63. Is this the bath mat that was directly under the victim?
There were two, and this is the one that was on the very bottom.
Thank you. This was on the very, very bottom.
The very, very bottom, yes.
On top of that.
Yes.
People's, and we notice a red substance on that.
Yes.
People 64. Is this the backside of that bottom bath mat?
Yes, that would be the other side.
And what do you notice about that?
It contained holes and what appeared to be fragments of a projectile.
And again, Becky Bliefnick was found laying on top of that bath mat
Yes.
that had holes on the top and bottom of it.
Yes.
And Becky Bliefnick had holes, bullet holes on the front and back of her body.
Yes.
People 65. Again, close up of that, do we see in this area a brass shiny object?
Yes.
Is that a projectile?
It's a fragment of one. Yes.
People 64. I'm sorry, 66. Again, is that the same bath mat?
Yes.
And is this a separate, different hole that we're looking at here?
Yes.
And inside that hole of that bath mat, was there something?
Yes.
What was that?
That's a projectile.
A bullet?
Yes.
People 67, please. Is this the floor that was underneath the bath mat that was underneath Becky's body?
Yes.
What did you notice about the floor? What's the purpose of this photograph?
It contained a projectile along with some fragments.
And was there damage to the floor as well?
Yes, there was.
When we talk about the projectile and fragments, are you talking about this and then these other areas?
Yes.
And the damage to the floor is seen here.
Yes.
People 68. Again, a different view of that prior photograph.
Yes.
This was the area that was directly under Becky Bliefnick's body.
Yes.
What do we see here?
Projectile
And in this area?
where it's been damage to the floor.
And here?
Same damage to the floor.
And here, damage to the floor?
Yes.
And here, a piece of a projectile?
Yes.
Piece of a projectile?
Yes.
Piece of a bullet? Piece of a bullet? And piece of a bullet.
Yes.
I think we're done with the photograph. Mr. Bell, I now want to move on to talk about some of those items in those photographs that we talked about and what was done with you as the crime scene investigator, crime scene technician, okay?
Yes.
Let's talk first about the chair that was outside that we saw on the outside of the residence. In fact, I'm sorry, this guy has all of those, send the photographs back up again. It's gonna be easier that way, I think. And it would be that camera. And 2 slides forward, please. One more. On the screen, we have Exhibit 21. We talked about this chair, right?
Yes.
Can you tell me, as a crime scene investigator, what you did with regard to that chair?
I swabbed areas of that chair for possible DNA.
Can you tell me, when you say swabbed areas of that chair for DNA, tell the jury what that process entails. What does it mean? What do you do?
I took 2 sterile swabs, and I had sterile water. I put sterile water on one of the swabs, and I swabbed the top portion of that chair where somebody would appear to grab it to move it. And then I used the dry swab and swabbed the same area and collected that for possible touch DNA.
Did you check it for fingerprints?
I did not.
Now, is that a decision you make on your own, or is that a decision that you make in consultation with detectives on the scene?
It was a decision amongst all of us.
Can you tell us why you determined, along with the other detectives, that we weren't going to check that chair for fingerprints?
The area that I swabbed would be the area I'd want to check for fingerprints also. That could disturb that. And plus, it was outside in the elements.
And if
And
you swab for DNA, does that affect fingerprints?
It can, yes.
So you have to make a call. You can't do everything. You have to make a call based on your training experience about what is the best option that you have to find the best possible evidence.
Yes.
And that's what you chose to do, again, in consultation with the detective.
Yes.
Those swabs were sent to the Illinois State Police Crime Lab for analysis. Is that right?
Yes, they were.
If we could go back to the diagram. If we could go to that. And go forward to slide. People's Exhibit 23 is on the screen now, and we're looking at the window that appears to be damaged and broken, right?
Yes.
Was that window seized, taken away?
Yes, it was.
Tell me how that happened. Tell me how that was done.
It was removed.
The window and then the door, the window frame as well, correct?
Yes.
And once that window and window frame were removed, they were taken where?
Back to the station.
And at that point, they were sent to?
The crime lab.
And the crime lab was asked to do an analysis for tool marks on that window. Is that right?
That is correct.
Was it the crime lab also asked to run other tests on that window?
Yes.
They were asked to run fingerprints?
Yes, they were.
Were they asked to do anything else?
No.
Fingerprints and tool marks.
Yes.
Again, that was not swabbed for DNA.
No.
Again, was that done in consultation with detectives? Because we have to make choices about what we can do.
Yes.
Back to the diagram. If we could go to that photograph. And forward one, please. One more. One more. One more. In People's Exhibit 41, was that that's a shell casing that you took into evidence, is that right?
Yes.
And then the other 7 shell casings that we previously saw, you collected those as well, correct?
Yes, I did.
I'm going to hand you what's been previously marked as people's 90 through 97. And what that is. 190 through 197. And I'm going to ask you to take a look at those and tell me what they are.
Those are the 8 shell casings I collected from the scene.
Specifically, the one that we see in Exhibit 41, and if we go forward one slide. And the 7 shell casings we see in People's 44, is that right?
Yes,
Those shell casings were sent to the Illinois State Police as well for testing, is that right?
yes,
They were sent for multiple types of testing, is that fair to say?
yes,
One shell casing was sent to the crime lab for a specific type of testing, the shell casing that was found in the hallway, right? 40, the one outside the bedroom?
yes,
That was tested for, I believe, DNA, is that right?
that is correct.
The other 7 shell casings that were found in the bedroom, those were tested for fingerprints.
No.
Well,
So 7 of the 8 shell casings were tested for DNA, and 1 shell casing was tested for fingerprinting.
thank you, I apologize, I had that wrong. Thank you. So one was tested for fingerprinting, the one in the hallway.
The one in the hallway was DNA. The one from, I believe it was marker that I labeled D, was the one sent for fingerprinting, while the other ones were all sent for DNA.
Why can't all the shell casings be tested for both DNA and fingerprints?
Due to the small amount of surface there to get DNA, like I previously described, you have to swab areas. It's not going, if you do both testing, it's not going to leave a lot of surface to collect possible DNA along with getting successful identifiable fingerprints.
And if you check the fingerprints first, then that ruins the DNA.
Yes,
So again, you have to make a call.
yes.
Did you make that call in consultation with people from the state's attorney's office and the county,
And actually the lab personnel also.
and the lab person as well?
Yes.
If we could go back to the diagram for me, and this picture, the picture of the book. The door handle here, was anything done forensically with that door handle?
Yes.
Can you describe that for me? What did you do?
I also swabbed that door handle for possible DNA.
And again, those swabs, did you swab it once? Did you swab it
I
twice?
used a wet and a dry swab, so I swabbed it twice.
And those swabs were sent to the crime lab for DNA analysis.
Yes, they were.
Was not tested for fingerprints.
No.
Again, because you have to make a choice. If you swab for DNA, you can't then do fingerprints. If you do fingerprints first, you can't then do DNA.
Correct.
I'm not going to go to the pictures, but the pictures of the plastic pieces around Becky Bliefnick's body.
Yes.
Those items were collected, correct?
I collected some off of the floor, and I also collected some off of the sink.
And I believe those are items 240, exhibits 241 and 242. And if I could approach the picture.
May.
I'm going to hand you what's been marked as police or people's exhibits 241 and 242. Do you recognize those?
Yes, I do.
Can you tell me what they are?
One bag is the piece of the material, the plastic material I collected from the bathroom floor, and the other bag contains the pieces of the plastic material that I collected from the sink or the vanity within the bathroom that she was located.
And those were sent to the crime lab for testing as well.
Yes, they were.
They were asked to be tested for DNA,
Yes,
and they were asked to be compared to other plastic bags that we'll talk about later. Is that right?
yes,
They were not tested for fingerprints.
no.
Again, can you explain that to me?
They were such a small surface. They were, as you could tell in the photographs, they were small pieces of plastic. And swabbing with DNA, you're swabbing that entire piece of plastic, or to try to obtain DNA, you're swabbing that entire piece of plastic to try to yield a profile.
The projectiles, the bullets that we saw.
Mr. Jones, I'm just going to stop you. We need to stand up and stretch, okay? Everybody, take a minute, stand up and stretch. All right, please be seated. Proceed, Mr. Jones.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm not going to go back to the photographs, but the projectiles, the bullets that we saw in the bathtub on the floor, the pieces underneath the mat that was under Becky's body, those were recovered by you as well. Is that right?
Yes.
I apologize, Mr. Schmuck. I'm going to hand her 198.
Okay.
I can approach, Your Honor.
You may.
I will hand you what's been marked as People's Exhibits 198 through 204. Are those the projectiles, the pieces, the bullets that you recovered from the scene?
Yes, they are.
Those were sent to the lab as well,
Yes.
and they were asked to be tested for comparison, forensic firearms testing.
Yes.
And I don't know if I asked about the shell casings. I know we talked about DNA and fingerprints on the shell casings. The shell casings were also asked to be tested forensically by the firearms department for firearms testing. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct.
There was an autopsy performed on the victim, Becky Bliefnick,
Yes, there was.
and in the course of that autopsy were more projectiles recovered,
Yes.
and they were taken into evidence as well.
Yes.
Can I hand you what's been marked as People's Exhibit 205, 206, and 207?
Okay.
And are those the projectiles, the bullets, that were taken out of Becky's body during the autopsy?
From the markings on the bag, yes, I did not log those in, so.
I understand that. But that's what
Yes, but that's what it appears, that's what it says, so yes.
Those were sent to the crime lab as well for forensic analysis, specifically in the area of firearms testing.
Yes, they were.
Becky Bliefnick was not tested for gunshot powder residue, is that right? Gunshot residue testing?
Her hands were bagged at the scene, and I was not at the autopsy, but I do believe there's a possibility that that GSR kit was collected. I'd have to refer to my
That
notes.
gunshot residue kit was never tested.
No.
Can you tell me why it was never tested?
There's no evidentiary value to testing a gunshot residue kit that was collected off of the victim. She was shot multiple times.
You've been a crime scene technician for 14 and a half years.
Yes, I have.
You've had training and experience in the area of gunshot residue testing and collection.
Yes.
You know, I was reading the other day, can you just wash off gunshot powder residue?
Yes, you can.
With what?
Soap and water.
Doesn't take much, does it?
No.
Have just a moment, Your Honor.
You may.
Also, in your training and experience, is there a, not time limit, but in the area of gunshot powder residue testing, is there a, not time limit, but a time period where it becomes less and less likely that that testing will bear any fruit?
Yes.
Can you explain that for me?
It's, from my training experience, 6 hours from the time that a shooting or a gun has been shot is the ideal time to collect possible GSR.
And after 6 hours, becomes less and less likely that any test would result in any type of finding.
Yes, that is correct.
I think that's all I have, Your Honor.
Ms. Schnack, Cross?
Yes, thank you. Ms. Pizzella, I have some questions for you, so.
I apologize. I have one last question.
Go ahead, Mr. Jones.
Did you also collect a buckle swab from the defendant?
Yes, I did.
And that's People's Exhibit 220? I could approach, Your Honor.
You may.
Judge, what is that?
It's 220.
Okay.
The buckle swab.
Okay.
And is that the buckle swab that you collected from the defendant?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, we'd ask that all those exhibits that she's identified and have been marked and referred to be admitted into evidence.
Ms. Knock, I have 190 through 197, the shell casings. Any objection to those?
No.
Those will be admitted. I have People's Exhibits 241 and 242, which contain pieces of plastic. Do you have any objection to those?
No.
They will be admitted. I have People's Exhibits 198 through 204, which is pieces of the projectile which were collected from the scene. Any objection to those?
Okay. No, no.
They will be admitted. I have People's Exhibits,
No, Your Honor.
okay, People's Exhibits 205, 206, and 207, which are projectiles from the body during the autopsy. Excuse me, any objection to those?
No.
Those will be admitted. And then we have 220, which is the buccal swab from the defendant. Any objection?
No.
That will be admitted. And then Mr. Jones, did the court mention all of the exhibits?
Can I ask Ms. Keck?
Yes, you may.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Now, Ms. Schnock, you may cross-examine.
All right, let's try this again, Ms. Pizzella. Would you have started processing the crime scene on February 23rd of 2023?
I did process the crime scene.
Okay, and what time did you start processing the crime scene?
I arrived at approximately 18 hours, and it was shortly thereafter I started photographing.
Okay, and how long after you arrived did you spend taking photographs and collecting evidence that day?
I'm not exactly sure what time I left the scene the next day.
Okay, was it several hours
Yes.
that evening? Okay.
Yes.
And did you ever return back to the Kentucky Road house to collect evidence or process the crime scene?
After that day?
After that day?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and after that day, if you recall, what dates did you return back to the Kentucky Road house to collect evidence?
I'm not exactly sure the date, but I went back and I helped assist with collecting an additional part of a window.
Okay, and do you know how long that would have taken when you went back?
It wasn't that long.
Okay, that's fair. I want to talk about the Kentucky Roadhouse first, okay, ma'am? Starting with the window.
Yes.
You said that you observed the window to be damaged, I think on the outside, correct, of the window frame?
Yes.
Okay, and that window was removed and sent to the crime lab for tool mark testing, correct?
Yes.
And can you explain to us that aren't well-versed in your area what that kind of testing would entail?
I'm not an expert when it comes to tool mark testing, but if you use a tool to open or pry open something, it can leave marks.
Okay, and so is the theory behind that, if you can match the tool with the marks, then maybe you have the tool that opened the window?
Yes.
Okay, and during your involvement in this case, did you also collect several items from Tim's house at 1641 Hampshire?
Yes, I did.
And do you remember the date that you would have done that?
March 1st.
Okay, and what time did you arrive at 1641 Hampshire to start the process of collecting evidence?
I'm not exactly sure of the time, but it was in the morning.
Okay, and do you know how long you spent at his house collecting evidence?
It was a few hours.
Okay, and did you not only collect evidence from inside his house, but also outside of his house?
That is correct.
And did you also search a detached garage?
Yes.
And did you also search through his trash?
His trash at in the can outside of his house. Yes.
Okay, and there were certain items that were taken from Tim's house that day, correct?
Yes, there were.
And some of those items were also collected and sent out for further testing, correct?
Yes, there were.
Was one of those items a crowbar?
Yes.
And where did you find that crowbar?
It was in the basement.
Okay, of Tim's house.
Of Tim's house, yes.
And that crowbar was sent to the crime lab for testing, correct?
Yes, it was.
And what kind of testing was requested on that crowbar?
It was DNA testing along with tool mark analysis.
Okay. And was there also a multi-tool that was found during the search of either Tim's home or his car?
There was, but I had I did not search Tim's vehicle.
Okay, that's fair. Were there any other tools other than that one crowbar that you collected from Tim's house that day?
Yes.
How many other tools did you collect?
There were a few.
Okay, and were any of those, and what kind of tools were they, if you remember?
There were additional crowbars.
Okay, and were any of those crowbars sent to the crime lab for testing?
No, they were not.
Okay, and can you tell us why their decisions were made to send one crowbar for testing but not others?
The ones that we located in the detached garage appeared to have not been disturbed for a very long period of time. The one that we did end up sending that was in the basement was on a shelf by itself and just was kind of out of the ordinary.
And that was based off, and prior to being in Tim's house that day, had you ever had the occasion to be there and see where that crowbar was normally kept?
I had never been in that house before.
Okay, so as far as what is usual or unusual for anything to be kept in that house, you don't know?
I do not.
Okay, and as far as anything being kept out of place or in unusual manner in his garage, you do not know that either, correct?
No.
Okay. Moving on. When you were processing the Kentucky Road scene, you found a partial foot impression on the carpet, correct?
Footwear impression?
Okay. Was there also what appeared to be a partial impression on the bedside table below the window?
Yes, there was.
Okay, and pictures of that partial footprint on the bedside table were taken, correct?
Yes.
And were any of those photographs sent to the crime lab along with the partial foot impression on the floor?
No.
During your search of Kentucky Road, did you take any of Tim's shoes?
Of Kentucky Road?
Or, I'm sorry, Hampshire Street.
Yes.
How many pairs of shoes did you take from Hampshire Street?
There were multiple.
Several.
Yes.
And how many pairs of those shoes were sent to the crime lab for testing?
One pair.
And what was the purpose of requesting foot impressions on that piece of carpet? That was a bad question.
Yeah.
So the foot impression that you found, you collected several pairs of shoes from
Yes.
Tim's house, correct?
Yes.
And then from the Kentucky Road house,
Yes.
you also collected a partial footprint off the floor, correct?
Yes.
And that impression was actually cut out, the carpet was actually cut out and sent to the crime lab?
Yes, it was.
Okay. And then one pair of the several that were collected were sent for comparison, correct?
Yes.
And what is the point of testing for foot impressions like that?
Would be to see if any of those shoes had made the impression on the carpet.
Okay. And were there any other shoes collected from any other individuals for comparison testing?
No.
Were there any photographs of any other shoes sent to the crime lab for comparison testing?
No.
During your search of Tim's house on Hampshire Street, was a gun safe found?
There were two.
There were two. And did you collect any firearms from those gun safes for testing?
Yes.
And what did you collect?
It was a handgun from the one gun safe.
Okay, and was that sent to the crime lab for ballistics testing?
Yes, it was.
Were there any other guns that you collected and sent to the crime lab for testing?
No.
Was there anything viable that you found in his trash that you sent off to the crime lab for testing?
I believe there was some that I didn't collect, though, that might have been sent off.
Okay, that's fair.
I'd have to check my notes on that.
No, that's not necessary, ma'am. Did you also have the occasion to search a different private residence at 928 North 230th Avenue for any guns or ballistics?
I don't know what residence you're referring to, sorry.
Becky's parents' house.
Oh, yes.
And when did you search their house?
I did not search inside of their house.
Outside of the house?
Yes.
And what did you do and look for outside of the house?
I collected multiple shell casings that were turned over to us.
Okay, and where were those shell casings located?
They were in containers.
Okay, were there also shell casings that were removed from a tree stump?
Not casings. Those would have been projectiles.
Projectiles. And how many projectiles were found in that tree stump?
Multiple.
Okay. And were any of those sent for testing?
I believe it was the projectiles that were sent.
Okay. In all, how many hours do you have invested collecting evidence and sending it off for testing?
In my whole career?
No, in this case.
Oh,
Tens of hours, hundreds of hours?
No, not hundreds of
Okay.
hours.
Tens of hours?
I couldn't put a number to it, to be honest.
Several days?
Yes, I've worked on this case for several days, yes.
Did you collect and swab anything from Tim's vehicle?
I was not a part of anything with
Okay.
his vehicle.
Did you collect anything as far as a sexual assault kit is concerned?
That would have been done at autopsy, and I was not there.
But you did not?
No, I did not.
Would you agree that there have been hundreds of items taken into evidence in this case?
Yes.
And not all of those have been sent off for analysis, correct?
No.
Okay. No other questions, Judge?
Redirect.
Couple questions, Ms. Pizzella. The other shoes that weren't sent,
Yes,
can you tell me why they weren't sent?
they didn't appear to be similar to the footwear impression on the carpet.
And when you were in Rebecca Bliefnick's house, did you ever see a gun safe?
No,
Did you ever see any, in the upstairs, any ammunition,
no,
any gun cleaning kit,
no,
holster?
no,
See any Aldi bags upstairs?
no.
That's all the questions I have.
You may step down. If you could hand those exhibits to the bailiff. All right, Mr. Jones, is Ms. Pizzella released from your subpoena?
She's released from ours, I believe. Casey,
She can be released, Your Honor.
Be released? Okay, you may go. You're free to go. All right, and then, ladies and gentlemen of the jury.
Oh, thank God.
That are all the witnesses
Okay,
we
so
have
that is the
lined up
end of.
this morning. So what we're going to do.
I'm just
we're
gonna
going
listen.
go
I mean,
ahead
how can you
and
even
break
hear
for
this?
lunch.
You know, if I was
We
watching my
will be
channel,
back
I would
in
unfollow it too.
so
So I don't blame you for being
I'll be back
disappointed.
in the
I am
jury
so
room
frustrated.
About 10 till 1, and we will. Try and
Okay,
start the
so
events right up now.
I just did a YouTube search for day 4 afternoon, and I'm not seeing anything released. Muddy Waters or Muddy Rivers just did the release of the video that we just watched. See, this is the one we just finished. I mean, really, honestly, people, does it need to be this hard? So I might just leave the stream open just for a half an hour or so to see, because it would be a lot easier if the video was just all in one piece so people can find it. So I think what I'm going to do is, and you can't see that very good. So I'm just going to quick recap here. This was this morning. Oh, here, let's get rid of this. I've never seen such a cluster. You know what? Hide. Let's see here. Hide. You know what? It doesn't help matters that it's absolutely gorgeous outside, and I'm sitting here trying to piece together this trial. Jeez, God. Okay, so if you follow my Twitter account, it's at Shan, SHAN. WAPOW. See, it's the bottom on my little icon here, because right now I have a fedora on, because I just got back from the chiropractor. But under here, on the Twitter one, I have these posted. This one I posted yesterday noonish, and then this morning I posted yesterday afternoon. So this video just concluded the testimony. I've already read all of these previously. But I am going to read this Emily Perzella. That's the one that has been on since I was at the chiropractor. So let me just read this into the video. So we've got it. I'm sorry, people. Well, if it's any consolation, I know everybody that's covering this trial is struggling too. So at least we're struggling together. So the last witness here, who took up the majority of the yesterday morning, she was a CSI who responded to Becky's home the night of the murder. She began by confirming the photos presented as evidence were taken by her or another Quincy Police Department officer. Attorney Jones proceeded to display a layout of Becky's residence, showcasing photos of the crime scene. The images depicted a patio chair moved near a first floor window and a broken and forced open second story window, raising questions about possible points of entry. Continuing with the presentation, Jones showcased pictures of the damaged window from the inside, revealing a shoe print on the floor below the window. Other images revealed a torn grocery bag, a broken door, and shell casings scattered on the floor of another room. The focus then shifted to the living room, featuring a purse on a wall, a laptop, checkbook, and credit cards on a couch, as well as book bag and textbooks, because the witness Wednesday afternoon. Cecilia Gervais and her husband, they had taken her to a surgical procedure and driven her home earlier in the week, and they had testified that she was doing some kind of homework. The master bedroom photos revealed a broken door, more shell casings, and the entrance to the bathroom where Becky's lifeless body was discovered. Emotion intensified as a photo displaying Becky's legs on the bathroom floor was shown. Although, according to Muddy Rivers, they were going to edit some of these graphic photos out. And again, I was at the chiropractor, so I didn't get a chance to watch it with you. Highlighting plastic bag remnants, and bullet holes in a cabinet. A full photo of Becky's body was presented, prompting grief-stricken reactions from her family members. So sad. Jones proceeded to show photos of a blood-stained bath mat with bullet holes and fragments found on the floor. Pizzella confirmed she had swabbed the patio chair for DNA and collected fingerprints and tool marks from the broken window, which were sent to the Illinois State Crime Lab for analysis. The court then turned its attention to the spent shell casings, which Pizzella identified as those found in Becky's house. The casings were sent to the Illinois State Crime Lab, with some tested for DNA and others for fingerprints. She explained the challenge of testing evidence due to the limited surface availability. Let's get to the next page. Prompting choices between DNA and fingerprint analysis. Small pieces of grocery bags and bullet fragments, both sent to the lab, were also discussed. Regarding gunshot residue, Pizzella explained the testing wasn't conducted on Becky's body due to the multiple gunshot wounds, as GSR can be washed away with soap and water. Such testing is ideally done within 6 hours of the incident. Under cross-examination by Schnack, Pizzella revealed that she spent several hours at Becky's house and made multiple return trips over a few days to collect further evidence. Schnack inquired about tool mark testing and the evidence collection at Tim's residence on Hampshire Street, including the examination of a crowbar found in his basement. Schnack then questioned Pizzella about the footprints discovered at Becky's home. Pizzella disclosed that multiple pairs of Tim's shoes were collected, with one sent to the crime lab alongside a section of carpet. When asked if anyone else's shoes were examined, Pizzella confirmed that they were not. Addressing the issue of firearms, Schnack asked if guns were collected from Tim's gun safe and tested, as well as from Becky's parents' house, to which Pizzella affirmed both occurrences. In the final exchange, Jones inquired whether any traces of guns or a gun safe were found at Becky's house, to which Pizzella said no. She also responded no when asked about full Aldi's bags. So, during their divorce agreement, Becky was attempting to get a gun back in the divorce. And I know yesterday's afternoon testimony ended with the discussion that she ultimately never did get that gun back. So anyway, so I think maybe what I will do is just leave this open for, I don't know, maybe it's almost 11 o'clock now. So maybe like a half an hour, I'll just put up some kind of, what can I do? Break time. I'll just put break time up here. And then I'm just going to leave it open, because then that way, if the afternoon from yesterday video is released, I can parse it in with this one. So how does that sound? And again, this is the testimony from yesterday afternoon that we're still waiting for the video on. So this is what we're going to be discussing next. And unfortunately, I can only put one of these up at a time. So maybe I'll just put like this screen up for now. And then in 10 minutes, maybe rotate it to the second one. I mean, I'm just clueless as to what to do here. So many apologies. I know it's frustrating, but we're dealing with this, I guess, the best we can. I will put on a little music for you. What do I have? Let's see. Let's try this one maybe. Yeah, we'll just leave this on. All right, thanks for hanging with me, people. We're just gonna leave this window open for like a half an hour. And see if that afternoon video is gonna come. Then we got it all in one nice little spot. You're never gonna be able to read this now. Look at that. Okay, doing the best I can, people. Hope your Friday is going good. Okay, folks, I found the afternoon video just released. So let's just get this on 1.25. It doesn't sound like the audio is any better than it was on the morning feed. And closed captioning is unavailable. So, okay, so this is afternoon testimony. I'm going to add this to the stream just so we can just briefly peruse through it before we start. Okay, so, and again, if you go to my Twitter profile at Shanhua Pao, it's underneath my little picture here. I do have this posted, pinned to my profile. So this is now the afternoon testimony of yesterday, day 4, May 25th. First witness is going to be Brian Dutch, Quincy Police Department. I don't know. Looks like he did the search warrant the morning of March 1st on Tim's house. Collected evidence, etc., etc. Crowbar. So we're going to hear about that search warrant. Then after that will be Patrick Hollensteiner, also Quincy Police Department. He searched for the bicycle, blue Schwinn. So remember, there was someone that they still have yet to determine was seen riding a bicycle from approximately around Tim's house over to Rebecca's house in the time in question. So he'll be the second afternoon witness. And then the third afternoon witness will be Mike Blasing. He's the one that sold the bike on a Facebook marketplace. Then we will hear from Zach Bemis. He was apparently he did a reenactment of the bicycle ride from Tim's house to Becky's house, recreating the route that might have been taken. The ride took nearly 5 minutes. And then the final witness of yesterday afternoon is Brad Eman. He's a neighbor of Tim's, and he'll testify that in January, Tim had approached him inquiring about a backyard camera he might have. However, he stated he didn't have any. I suppose he was maybe just like pre-planning. I don't know. I mean, the man's innocent until proven guilty. But once today, day 5's testimony is finished. Again, I'm compiling this information using tweets I'm finding on Muddy River News, and a couple other resources on Twitter, because the videos aren't coming out till the next day. So again, this is day 4. This is all yesterday. But once court is finished for today, day 5, I'm going to compile day 5 morning and afternoon witness testimony summaries. Then I will pin that. So the most current recap will be pinned to my Twitter profile. And then as soon as day 5 video is released, I'm guessing tomorrow, then I will play that, and then we will conclude with a week 1 recap, because there's a lot of times that we need to crisscross, tick and tie, as they say in accounting. So, all right, let's get back to... All right, people. Again, I'm sorry. We're doing the best that we can. This video was just released 47 minutes ago, so kind of like right around the time we were finishing the other one. I just didn't see it until now. Glad I kept the stream open.
No, Your Honor, we're ready to roll.
All right, well, we'll roll at 1 o'clock then, and we will be in recess.
Thank you.
Stevens and Laura Keck. And then before we get ready to, or bring court security sees you with a file, bring, step to the front of the courtroom, please.
And also, people, I have no control over the audio. I have the audio at all the way up. This morning's audio was also extremely difficult.
It's turned on.
And they don't have the closed captioning on.
Thank you, Your Honor. Can you tell me your name, please?
Brian Dush.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a
Okay.
detective sergeant, Quincy Police
I'll be
Department.
How
quiet.
long have you been with the
I'll be watching the chat.
A little over 27 years.
You said you're a detective sergeant. What does that mean?
I supervise the detectives in criminal investigations unit.
Were you the detective sergeant on this particular case, the Rebecca Bliefnick homicide?
Yes.
In connection with that role, on March 1st of 2023, did you and other officers with the Quincy Police Department receive a search warrant for the defendant's residence?
Yes.
And the address of that residence that was searched was what?
1641 Hampshire Street.
Were photographs taken of that process?
Yes.
If I could approach a witness, Your Honor.
You may.
I'm going to hand you what's been marked People's Exhibits 81 through 113. Are those photographs that were taken in the process of that search?
Yes.
Do those photographs accurately show what you observed while you were at the scene and not just observing, but helping with and overseeing that search?
Yes, they do.
Your Honor, we'd ask that People's Exhibits 81 through 113, I believe, be introduced into evidence and published to the jury.
Ms. Knock, have you had a chance to review those photos?
Yes, Your Honor.
You had a chance to do that pre-trial?
Yes.
And do you have any objection to the admission?
No.
They will be admitted and may be published.
Go forward to the first slide, please. On the screen, we have People's Exhibit 81. Can you tell me, this is a photograph of a garage at the premises at 1641 Hampshire, is that right?
Yes, it is.
And in that photograph, do you see something in the middle of the picture?
Yes.
What is that?
A bicycle.
Specifically, if we could go forward to People's 82, what kind of bicycle is it?
A black, red, and white mongoose bicycle.
Did you notice anything about that bicycle?
Yes.
Can you tell me what you noticed about that bicycle?
The rear tire is flat.
Rear tire is flat. Did you also notice that it has reflectors on both the front and back wheel?
Yes, it does.
Could you go forward to People's 83? People's 83, again, is this a photograph from the garage?
Yes, it is.
And it shows a pair of gloves, is that right?
It does.
Those gloves were seized and taken into evidence?
They were.
They were not tested for gunshot residue, were they?
They were not.
They were not tested for DNA, were they?
They were not.
Can you tell me why, with regard to DNA, they were not tested?
With regard to DNA, just based on the course of the investigation, there were priorities made based on things of probative value, and they were not determined to be of value.
I mean, if the defendant's DNA was on those gloves were in his garage.
That's right.
And we'll talk about gunshot residue in just a moment. We go forward to 84, please. People's 84, again, in the middle of that photograph on top of the Craftsman toolbox, did you see something?
Yes.
And what is that?
A shoe?
And next to the shoe? You go forward to 85.
That's another pair of gloves.
And we'll talk about those gloves again in a minute. If you go to 86, again, in the defendant's garage, is that another pair of gloves?
It is?
Those gloves were seized as well as the gloves that were in People's 85.
Yes, they were.
People's 87. Is this a photograph inside the defendant's house?
Yes, it is.
And in the middle of the photograph is another pair of gloves.
Yes, it is.
And those were seized as well?
Yes, they were.
People's 88. Underneath the defendant's sink, are there a bag of disposable plastic nylon gloves?
Yes.
People's 89. Just another view of those gloves.
Correct.
People's 90. A trash can in the defendant's residence, is that right?
Yes,
And in the trash can, another pair of gloves.
that's correct.
Those gloves were seized as well, correct?
They were.
People's 91. Go back to 90. The gloves that were seized, Again, we've talked about why they weren't tested for DNA testing. All those gloves were found in the defendant's residence, correct?
They were.
Gunshot residue testing, none of them were tested for gunshot residue either, were they?
They were not.
These gloves were seized and found on March 1st, 2023, is that right?
That's correct.
The murder of Rebecca Bliefnick occurred when?
Her body was located on February 23rd
Of 2023.
of 2023.
Can you tell us why, in your training and experience as a detective sergeant for the Quincy Police Department, why those gloves were not tested for gunshot residue?
In all the training that I have had, the window is a firm 6 hours from the time of the firing to have any success for gunshot residue.
After 6 hours, the chances of getting any kind of result are basically nil.
Correct.
Peoples 91. What are these photographs of, Detective?
Multiple Aldi shopping bags?
And those were seized as well, is that right?
Yes.
And those bags in People's Exhibit 91 were seized, and they're in this bag that's marked People's Exhibit 240, is that right?
That's correct.
I'm not going to have you open that here today, but can you look at the front of the bag and confirm that that's in that bag?
Yes.
Those bags were sent to the Illinois State Police for testing and comparisons with other exhibits that previously been sent as well, is that right?
That's correct.
If you go forward to People's 92. Another view of those bags, is that right?
That's correct.
On one side it says East Coast, and on the other side it says West Coast. The East Coast is on both, on every bag, is that right?
Yes.
And the West Coast is on every bag. It's basically the same size on every bag.
Yes.
I'm not sure if that's clear, so I'll try it one more time. On one side of the bag it says East Coast, on the other side it says West Coast.
Yes, that's correct.
93, please. What are we looking at here, Sergeant Darcy?
This is a picture of a shelving unit in the basement of the defendant's residence.
On the bottom of that shelving unit, did you find anything?
Yes.
Tell us what we're looking at in a general sense here on the bottom of the shelving unit.
These are multiple boxes of various types of firearm ammunition.
People's 94. Again, is that just a close-up view of the various ammunition boxes?
It is.
95. Again, the other side of that same bottom shelving unit showing a close-up view of that ammunition.
Yes.
People's 96. The middle of that shelving unit, again, with those pictures of the ammunition.
Yes.
People's 97. This box in particular that we have in People's, I know it says 976. I believe that should be 97. That particular box, was there something special about that box?
Yes.
Describe for me what is special about that box.
So upon further examination of that box, not only were there boxes of unfired bullets, there were boxes of spent shell casings.
Go forward, please, one slide. People's 98. This Winchester box that we see here, is that what you're talking about, where there were spent shell casings?
Yes.
When you say spent shell casings, what does that mean?
So when a round is fired, the bullet and the shell casing separate, and what is left behind is the shell casing.
Shell casing is then, if it's a semi-automatic, it will be ejected from the weapon, is that right?
Yes.
If it's a revolver, the shell casing stays in there.
Correct.
When you found, let me go back, there were multiple shell casings found around Becky Bliefnick's body on February 23rd, 2023. Is that
That's correct.
What caliber were those shell casings?
9mm.
When we say caliber, can you describe what that means to the folks on the jury?
Caliber roughly describes the diameter of the round.
Is there a difference between a 9mm and a 40mm?
Yes.
Or a 9mm handgun and a 357 handgun?
Yes.
That would be the size of the shell casing.
Correct.
In that box, what millimeter of shell casings that were fired did you find?
9mm.
People's 99. What are we looking at here?
So this is a close-up photograph of the shell casings from one of the boxes laid out to show the different types.
And these are the 27, so I think these are the 54 shell casings that were seized and recovered.
Yes, sir.
And these 54 shell casings were sent to the lab for further testing.
They were.
These 54 shell casings were all 9mm shell casings, is that right?
Yes,
And the shell casings up here are a different caliber.
they are.
What caliber were they?
I believe they were 38 special.
If I can approach the witness, Your Honor.
You may.
I'm going to hand you what's been marked as People's Exhibit 236. Do you know what's in that bag?
Yes, there are 54 9mm shell casings.
That would be the same 54 shell casings that we see here standing on their edge.
Yes, sir.
And if I can approach the witness,
You may.
I'm going to hand you what's been marked as People's Exhibit 235. Is that the Winchester box that we see at the bottom of the screen?
Yes, it is.
And inside that box, we can all hear it rattling around. Are those the other shell casings, the 38 special, or I don't remember what you said those caliber what was. I think it was a 38, is that right?
Yes,
Are those 38 rounds in that box?
they are.
Now, those were not sent to the lab for testing.
Correct.
Can you tell me why those 38 rounds were not sent to the lab for testing?
We only recovered 9mm rounds at the scene, leading us to believe that Becky was shot with a 9mm firearm.
So the rounds that are not 9mm had no relevance to your investigation, fair to
None.
say?
Yes,
The rounds that were 9mm, you sent to the lab so they could be compared with the rounds, the shell casings that were recovered from the scene.
yes.
We can go forward to People's Exhibit 100. People's Exhibit 100 is just a different view of those same shell casings.
Yes, it is.
And 101? Again, a close-up view of those shell casings.
Yes, it is.
And 102. People's Exhibit 102 is a photograph taken where, Detective?
That is inside the primary bedroom of the defendant at his residence.
Is there something on the floor in that residence in the middle of the picture?
Yes,
And what is that?
that is a safe.
And is it a particular type of safe?
Yes, it's a safe that finger pressure can be used to open quickly,
What's the purpose of a safe like that?
to be accessed quickly.
Is it referred to sometimes as a gun safe?
In common usage, it's referred to as a gun safe.
And you would have a gun safe in your bedroom to possibly store a gun in, is that right?
Yes,
And a gun safe like that is so that you can have quick access if in the middle of the night there's a prowler or an intruder, you can get that gun, right?
yes,
People's 103? Again, is that the same gun safe that we're talking about?
yes, it is.
And did you in fact open that gun safe?
Yes,
When you opened that gun safe, was there anything in that gun safe in the defendant's bedroom?
nothing at all.
People's 104? Gun safe was empty.
Yes, it is.
Was there any handgun in the defendant's bedroom?
No,
People's 105? Was there evidence of gun ownership or something relating to a gun in the bedroom?
yes.
Can you describe that for me?
So there was a case located next to the safe that upon opening had multiple holsters in it.
Specifically in People's 106, is that one of the holsters?
Yes, it is.
Can you describe that holster for me?
That is a holster that's made of it's molded for a particular type of firearm. It's either made of leather or faux leather.
If I can approach the witness, Your Honor?
You may.
I'm going to hand you what's been marked as People's Exhibit 234. Is that the physical piece of evidence that we see on the screen in front of us?
Yes, it is.
In the course of searching the defendant's house, and we'll see some other pictures later, did you find handguns in a different location?
Yes.
Did any of the handguns that you find match that holster?
No.
People's 107? People's 107 is the backside of that holster that showed basically a belt clip where you would clip that holster on your belt.
Yes.
People's 108? People's 108 is a photograph of the downstairs at 1641 Hampshire, is that fair?
Yes.
And did you see something in the middle of this photograph?
Yes.
What is that?
That is a large safe commonly used to store firearms.
Gun safe?
Yes.
People's 109? Again, just a different view of that gun safe.
Yes, sir.
People's 110? You opened that gun safe?
Yes.
When you open that gun safe, is this what you saw?
Yes, it is.
Can you describe what we're seeing here?
So we're seeing the inside of this gun safe. There are multiple firearms, accessories, some ammunition.
Are there handguns in this gun safe?
Yes.
Can you describe what handguns were in this gun safe?
So There is a revolver sitting on the shelf, exposed. There
This
are,
top shelf?
yeah, the next one down. They're in the shelf below that, in the black canvas or cloth pouch. There was a handgun located, also in that pouch.
Before you executed the search warrant, in the process of executing the search warrant, did you conduct a gun purchase check on both Rebecca Bliefnick and the defendant?
Yes.
And when that gun purchase check was done, were there certain handguns that had been purchased by Ms. Bliefnick?
Yes, I don't believe that search was done before the execution of the search warrant.
I apologize, let me rephrase. Then after it was done, did you do that?
Yes.
And did you find that Ms. Bliefnick had purchased a handgun?
Yes.
And what kind of handgun was that?
CZ75B 9mm.
At any point when you were in the defendant's residence at 1641 Hampshire, did you find a CZ75B 9mm handgun?
No.
You said that there was a purchase history for the defendant as well with regard to a 9mm handgun.
Yes.
What kind of handgun was that?
There were two 9mm handguns, one being a Ruger LC9 9mm and one being a Ruger SR9 9mm.
And in the course of executing the search warrant, did you find one of those handguns?
Yes.
What handgun was that?
The Ruger LC9.
And that was seized and taken to evidence
It was.
and sent for testing.
It was.
The other handgun that you mentioned, what was that? I'm sorry?
A Ruger SR9 9mm.
Was that found anywhere in the defendant's residence?
No.
People's 110, 111? You said that you found one handgun, the Ruger, I apologize, I'm not good with the numbers. What was that, Ruger?
That is a Ruger LC9 9mm.
That was found downstairs in the gun safe in his living room.
Yes.
Or downstairs.
Yes, downstairs.
People's 112, please. Want to move back down to the basement then? In the basement, was there something else recovered besides what we talked about so far?
Yes.
And what do we see here at the top, on this top shelf, that related to your investigation?
That is a crowbar or pry bar.
Was that crowbar on the top shelf recovered?
Yes, it was.
Now, on this shelf, do you see any other tools?
No.
On the shelf below it, are there any other tools?
No.
And on the shelf below it, looks like there's a suitcase and some plastic things, but no tools there either.
None that I'm aware of.
That crowbar, that's shown in People's Exhibit 112. If I can approach the witness, Your Honor?
You may.
I'm going to hand you what's been marked as People's Exhibit 237. Ask if you recognize that.
Yes,
That's the same crowbar that we see in People's 112,
it is.
and that was sent to the crime lab for further testing as well.
It was.
People's 113. Close up of where that pry bar was in People's 113, is that right?
Yes.
People's 114? Okay. Sergeant, in connection with the investigation, did you also receive a computer download of or a hard drive with the contents of the defendant's computer?
Yes,
And did you search or go through part of that?
I did.
You had other detectives go through other parts,
Yes,
but there was a portion that you went through yourself.
yes,
And when you did that, did you find some photographs that you thought to be relevant to your training and experience?
yes.
Let's talk then about your training and experience in this particular area. Are you, or do you have specialized training in the area of firearms instructing and firearm recognition?
Yes, I'm a certified firearms instructor and a certified Glock armorer.
As both a certified firearms instructor and certified Glock armorer, have you seen or familiar with the CZ75 firearm?
I am.
Yeah, you can show, yeah.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as People's Exhibits 114 and 115. Do you recognize those?
I do.
Can you tell me, you got those photographs from the download of the defendant's computer that was provided to the Quincy Police by the Illinois State Police?
Yes,
There was a hard drive. You examined part of the contents of that hard drive and previously introduced into evidence and found those photographs.
I did.
Your Honor, we would ask that those photographs be introduced into evidence.
Any objection, Ms. Schnock?
Yes.
Okay, the objection,
Your Honor, I believe that these photos are overly prejudicial to Mr. Bliefnick and have no probative value.
You wish to be heard, Mr. Jones?
I do, I can do that here, or if the court wants to do it off the record.
The court's going to overrule the objection, and those will be admitted. 14 and 15 will be admitted over objection and may be published.
And People's Exhibit 14 that was found on the defendant's computer, can you tell us what we're looking at here?
Yes, we're looking at a photograph of the defendant.
And what's he doing?
He is holding a Ruger Mini 14 rifle.
When you executed the search warrant in the defendant's home, did you find that Ruger 14?
Yes, it was in the gun safe, the large gun safe downstairs. Yes.
Also, do you notice the color of the ear protection that he's wearing?
Yes,
It's yellow, is that right?
it is.
He's also wearing blue jeans, tan boots, and a gray cap, fair to say?
Yes,
You can go forward to People's 115. The individual in this picture is turned to the side, you cannot see his face, is that fair to say?
that's fair.
He is wearing, however, the bright yellow ear protection.
Yes,
correct? He's wearing a gray ski cap,
yes,
blue jeans,
yes,
and the tan boots.
that's correct.
He's also wearing a black sweatshirt that we previously saw that was on the defendant in the previous photo, fair to say?
Yes,
What's that person doing in this photograph?
holding a black handgun.
In your training and experience, do you recognize that brand and model of handgun?
I do.
What is that handgun that he's holding in this photograph?
That is a CZ75.
I want to be fair. Those photographs did not have any dates attached to them, and you do not know when they were taken,
I don't.
and you do not know where they were taken.
I don't.
Finally, I want to talk to you about the crime scene at the Kentucky Road Adams. You were there at that crime scene?
I was?
When you arrived at the crime scene, the victim, Rebecca Bliefnick's body was still there, is that right?
Yes.
When you arrived at the crime scene, did you notice anything on and around her body?
Yes.
Can you tell me what you noticed on and around her body relevant to your investigation?
There were multiple pieces of what appeared to be roughly shredded plastic.
In connection with the investigation, did officers do a test?
Yes,
And was that test involving a 9mm handgun and plastic Aldi bags?
it was.
Specifically, did you use the same brand of Aldi plastic bags that we saw in the photograph that were in the defendant's home?
Yes.
Can you describe for me the test that was used? Or basically, did an officer put a gun inside the bag or inside a couple bags and fire multiple rounds?
Yes.
As a result of that, were there multiple pieces of finely shredded plastic on the ground after the officer did that?
Yes.
Did you compare the two, see them both? Did they seem similar?
They did seem similar.
So the plastic after the officer fired the 9mm handgun through the Aldi's bag was similar to what you observed at the crime scene surrounding the body of Becky Bliefnick.
It was.
That's all the questions I have, Your Honor. I would ask that all the exhibits, People's Exhibits 81 through 113, Exhibits 234 and 235, 236 and 237, Exhibits 240, and Exhibit 114 and 115 all be introduced as admitted and received in evidence.
81 through 113 was already admitted. People's Exhibit 240 was the Aldi bags. Any objection to 240, Ms. Schnock?
No.
Will be admitted. People's Exhibit 236 is the 9mm casings. Any objection to 236?
No.
It will be admitted. 235 is the Winchester box. Any objection to that?
No.
That will be admitted. 234 is the gun holster. Any objection to that?
No.
That will be admitted. And then 237 is the crowbar. Any objection to that?
No.
That will be admitted. And then we admitted 114 and 115 over objection. And then, Mr. Jones, did I get all of the exhibits?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Then Ms. Schnatt, Cross?
Yes. Sergeant, I have some questions for you, so bear with me as we get through this, okay? The photos that you have testified to this afternoon, this is not a comprehensive collection of all of the photographs that were taken at Tim's house on March 1st, correct?
It is not.
There were hundreds of photos that were taken that day, correct?
Correct.
And there was also a recorded walkthrough done at his house, correct?
That's correct.
All right. I want to first start talking about the gloves. You mentioned when you were speaking about the gloves that they were not tested for gunshot residue because there's a 6-hour window, correct?
Yeah, based on all the training I've had, is that after 6 hours, there is an extremely negligible chance of recovering any gunshot residue.
But a chance nonetheless, correct?
It's negligible.
But a chance.
I have not received any training that would suggest that it's, that it can happen
Okay.
over 6 hours, ma'am.
And is that, does that include dissipating off of surfaces such as a piece of cloth like a glove or a tool?
All surfaces, yes.
Okay, so it dissipates, it just goes away?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for clearing that up. As far as the gun safe in Tim's bedroom is concerned, the first time that you saw that gun safe was that day, correct?
Yes,
And so you have no knowledge as to when, if ever, that safe would have contained a gun, correct?
correct.
And you don't have any information on the last time that it was opened or that it was ever opened by Tim, correct?
No,
Okay. And as far as the big gun safe is concerned that was found on the main floor of Tim's house, how did you, or how was that safe accessed?
with a key,
Okay, and who provided that key to you?
the defendant.
Okay, and that was during the execution of the search warrant at 20th and Hampshire, I believe?
I don't know exactly when he provided it or who he provided it to. I just know that it was provided that day on March 1st.
Okay, and during the course of your investigation, did you ever come across any reports of either Tim or Becky reporting a stolen gun?
Objection, Your Honor, it's a compound question.
During the course of your investigation, did you ever find any reports of a stolen gun?
I'm going to approach you.
I'm going to ask you to rephrase that question. Please ask that question with each person that you are inquiring, and please limit that to a reasonable time within the alleged incident.
Okay,
You said ever, you said both of them in your original question.
I will rephrase my question. During the course of your investigation, did you look to see if Tim ever reported a gun missing or stolen?
Yes,
And did you find such a report?
yes,
And during the course of your investigation, did you ever check to see if Becky reported a missing or stolen gun?
yes,
And did she?
yes.
Thank you. As far as these pictures of Tim are concerned, you don't know if these were taken 5 years ago, 10 years ago. You can't tell us at all when those were taken, correct?
The only way that I could narrow that down is I do have a purchase date for the CZ75.
Okay, but as far as anything else is concerned, you can't tell us when those pictures were taken?
No, ma'am,
Okay, and you can't tell us where those were taken, correct?
I don't know.
And you can't tell us what was taking place when those pictures were taken, correct?
Oh, other than the firing of firearms, no.
Okay, and you don't know if this was a photo that was taken before Tim and Becky separated or after, correct?
I don't.
Okay. There were other items that were collected during the course of the investigation that you have not mentioned with your questioning of Mr. Jones, correct? There were
Yes,
several other items of evidence that were
Yes, ma'am.
collected. For example, there were pieces of broken plastic that were found in his driveway that was collected, correct?
yes.
Were those pieces of plastic sent out for any sort of testing?
I don't believe so.
Okay. There were also several pairs of shoes that were collected from Tim's house, correct?
That's correct.
And one pair was sent to the crime lab for testing, correct?
Yes,
And there were also pieces of broken glass that were found in a trash can that were collected at Tim's house, correct?
yes,
Were those pieces of plastic sent off for testing?
no,
There was also a melted down silver substance that was found at Tim's house, correct?
yes, in the
And-
garage.
Okay, and there was nothing significant, or was that sent out for testing?
It was not.
Okay. And were there also several blink cameras that were taken from inside of his residence?
Yes,
And were those analyzed or sent out to be analyzed?
not by me.
Okay. There were also several phones and laptops and tablets that were taken, correct?
Yes.
As well as, I think, 2 Xbox towers.
Yes,
And were all of those collected and sent out for testing and analysis?
they were all collected. I don't know the answer on whether every single piece was sent for analysis.
And as far as the gloves that were collected are concerned, there were several different types of gloves found at Tim's house, correct?
Yes.
There were work gloves, there were winter gloves, there were plastic or latex gloves, maybe other kinds of gloves, correct?
Yes.
And none of those were sent out for testing, correct?
No, ma'am.
Your Honor, I don't have any other questions.
Redirect.
Just a couple questions. With regard to the upstairs gun safe, how did you get access into the upstairs gun safe, the one that was in the defendant's bedroom?
We were provided a key by the defendant.
With regard to the questions that Ms. Schnock asked about the report of the stolen gun, and specifically the CZ75, who was that reported stolen by?
Becky Bliefnick.
And was the defendant approached about that CZ75?
He was.
Was he asked where that CZ75 was?
He was.
And did he say that he didn't know where it was and he hadn't seen it in a year?
Yes.
And would that have been in, I believe the date of that was in 2021, is that right?
Yes. I don't know the exact date of the report, but I believe it was in 2021.
And after the defendant said he didn't know where it was, that's when Becky reported the gun stolen.
Yes.
Becky told in the report that she didn't know that it was stolen. She just didn't know where it was and wanted it reported stolen at that point.
Yes.
That's all the questions I have.
Ms. Schnock?
No
any
further
others?
Nope.
No? All right. If you could hand those exhibits to the bailiff, and you may step down. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now stand up and stretch. Mr. Jones, call your next witness.
People would call Patrick Hollensteiner.
You'll step to the front of the courtroom.
You do solemnly swear that the testimony you may give in the cause now seeming before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir. Have a seat right over here. Scoot up to where you're comfortable and bend the microphone in front of you. Mr. Jones, you may inquire.
Can you tell me your name, please?
Patrick Hollensteiner.
What do you do for a living, Mr. Hollensteiner?
I'm a police officer with the city of Quincy.
How long have you done that?
With the city, 6 years. I've been a cop for a total of 10 years.
Officer Hollensteiner, in February of 2023, did you play a role in the investigation of the homicide of Rebecca Bliefnick?
Yes, it did.
And I want to talk first then about a search that you did for a particular item.
Okay.
In the course of your role in this investigation, was there something that you were tasked to look for to start looking for?
Bicycle.
And was that because there had been video of an individual on a bicycle?
Yes, sir.
Did you start that process of looking?
I did.
And were you able to, in fact, find a bicycle in a particular location?
Yes, I was.
Let's talk first about that bicycle, and I'll show you what's been marked as People's Exhibit, actually 16 and 17. 116. 116 and 117. Tell me when you've had a chance to look at those.
I've looked at them.
Do those show maps of a particular area of Quincy, Illinois?
Yes.
And do they also show particular locations of interest? In one of the maps, does it show the defendant's residence?
Yes, it does.
Does that map also show the location of where you found the bicycle you were talking about?
Yes, it does.
In the second map, does it show the defendant's residence,
Yes, it does.
the location of the bicycle,
Yes, it does.
and the crime scene at 25 or on Kentucky Road?
The second one shows the area of the bus barn video.
I apologize. The bus barn, is that right?
Yes.
Your Honor, we'd ask that People's 116 and 117 be admitted in evidence and published to the jury.
Any objection, Ms. Schnock?
No.
They will be admitted, and you may publish them.
On the screen now, if you could help us orient and take ourselves on this map. On the bottom is Hampshire Street, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And this street that's running north-south is 18th Street.
Yes, sir.
So on this map, north would be towards the top of the screen, south would be towards the bottom, west towards the left, and east towards the right.
Yes, sir.
In the red box here, is that the defendant's residence?
Yes, it is.
And where this blue dot is, can you tell me what you found in that location?
I found a blue Schwinn Sidewinder bicycle.
That location is approximately half a block or less from the defendant's residence, fair to say?
That's correct.
Ms. Keck, if we could go forward to the next slide. And again, in this slide, again, to orientate, north would be to the top, south would be to the bottom, west to the left, and right to the east.
Correct.
Around the red box, or inside the red box, is the defendant's residence.
Correct.
Where the blue dot is where you found that blue bicycle.
Yes, sir.
And 20th Street, the bus barn, the Quincy bus barn.
Correct.
Thank you.
I'm going to hand you what's been marked as People's Exhibits 118 through 122. Can you look through those and tell me when you've had a chance to look?
I've looked at them.
Are those photographs of the location and the bike that you found?
Yes, it is.
And what was the date that you found that bike? I apologize.
February 27th.
Of 2023?
Yes, sir.
Do those photographs show what you saw on February 27, 2023?
Yes, sir.
We'd ask that those exhibits 118 through 122, be admitted and leave to publish.
Any objection, Ms. Stein?
No, Your Honor.
118 through 122 will be admitted and may be published.
What are we looking at here, officer?
That is a garage that is in just east of 18th Street, west of 20th Street, and in between Vermont and Hampshire Street.
This garage is where that blue dot was, for a second.
Yes, sir.
And in the middle left side of the photograph, do you see something?
In this picture, I see a bike tire.
Is that the bike that you found?
Yes, it is.
If we could go forward to 119.
For the record, that was 118. That was photograph 118. Go ahead, Mr. Jones.
Exhibit 119 is on the screen now. Officer, is this basically a view from where that tire was facing the opposite direction?
Yes, it was.
So this street out here would be 18th Street,
Yes, sir.
and this alley is the alley that runs between the blocks.
So I believe that might actually be a driveway because the alley and the driveway are a little bit offset.
If we could go forward to 120. This is, I'm sorry. So the photograph that we saw there is going down, I'm sorry, you're right, yeah, it's a driveway, this driveway here.
Yes, sir.
And then the alley is right here from 18th Street.
Correct.
Thank you. We can go back to the next slide and then forward to 120. Again, just a close-up as you're approaching that bike.
Yes, sir.
And 121, please. Again, close-up of the tire wheel that you saw.
Yes, sir.
And 122. Is this the bike that you found?
Yes, it is.
Officer, did you notice anything about the wheels, both wheels on this bike?
They appear to have air in them.
Did you notice anything that they don't have?
Reflectors.
I think we're done with the those exhibits for just a moment. Did that bike appear to be rusted in any way when you found it?
No.
Did it appear to have any damage from sitting there for a long time?
No.
Were the weeds growing over it or through the wheels or the spokes?
No.
Was there anything that indicated that it had been there for a long period of time?
No.
Did it appear to you that it had been placed there relatively recently?
Yes.
If we could turn the lights back on for just a moment, we do have another couple of exhibits with them, but not yet. Was there another role that you fulfilled in this investigation, specifically with regard to the search for videos?
Yes.
Tell me about
I was assigned to conduct a neighborhood canvass and try to talk to neighbors, look for video surveillance in the area,
So how do you do that? You just go door to door and knock on people's doors and say, hey, do you have video?
That's exactly what I did, yes.
And when you did that, when you went door to door, tell me the area that you were focusing on, going door to door, knocking and asking if they had video.
At first, I started with every house in the Kentucky Road neighborhood subdivision. I'd knock on the door. If they had video footage or had video cameras, I would attempt to see if they had any video footage of the incident or around the time frame. If they did, I would get it and download it at the Quincy Police Department.
Well, let's talk about Kentucky Road first. Outside of Taylor Hyman, was there any success at getting any ring or camera footage on the Kentucky Road area?
Not that I recall.
And do you remember when you were talking to people, was it basically they either didn't have video or the sensitivity was set up that it wouldn't pick up to the road?
Correct. A lot of them didn't have the sensitivity. I remember one house that was across the street that had cameras, but they weren't activated.
Did you search other areas as well?
I
for
did.
Video?
I did.
Tell me about that. Where else did you search?
I continued to the east. I believe it was York Street, all the way to 20th Street. On the night of the 27th, I know that I made contact with the Napides on 20th Street, and they were unsure if they had video surveillance. They had I believe it's through United Systems that managed their surveillance video, and they would get a hold of them, and that subject ended up getting a hold of me the next day.
And you got video from that location?
Correct.
Were you successful at any other location, you particularly? We've already heard testimony about video from the Quincy bus barn, but any other location, were you successful at getting video surveillance from any of the nights in question?
No.
And again, was that because they didn't either have cameras, or if they had cameras, it didn't record, or if it did record, the sensitivity was not
Right.
set up to go to the street?
Commonly, what I ran into was sensitivity issues with the camera and how far they had set their camera limits to record from.
Was there one other thing that you did at the crime scene a few days after the crime occurred?
Yes, there was.
Can you describe that for me, what you did?
I was asked by Sergeant Dush and Detective Nick Eddy to essentially climb the side of the victim's home to videotape it.
And was that in fact done?
Yes, it was.
I'm going to hand you what's been marked as People's 123. Officer, is that in fact a video of what you did, of climbing up the side of the residence on Kentucky Road and onto the roof, basically?
Yes.
Did that video accurately record what you did?
Yes.
Your Honor, we'd ask that exhibit 123, be entered into evidence and leave to play it for the jury.
Any objection, Ms. Schnock?
No, Your Honor.
It will be admitted, and you may publish that or play it for the jury.
Officer Hollensteiner, a couple times in that climb, when you first started it, it looked like you struggled a little bit. Can you describe that climb for me? How was that?
I mean, it was a challenging climb. I would say that you have to be somewhat athletic to utilize that, and obviously I had a height advantage, and I think that somebody that would be physically fit would be able to do that.
How tall are you?
6'4", 6'4.5".
Are you aware of how tall the defendant is?
He's 6'2", according to his Illinois driver's license.
Thank you. That's all the questions I have. I think all the exhibits have been debated.
I believe they have been. Ms. Schnock, cross-examination.
Thank you. I just have some questions for you, so bear with me, okay, sir?
Okay.
The bike that you found, that was on February 27th, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So that would have been 4 days after Becky's death?
Yes.
Okay. And as far as that bike is concerned, you don't know how long that bike had been laying there, correct?
No,
And you don't know how that bike got there, correct?
I don't.
And you don't have, I'll strike that. As far as how long have you worked with QPD?
6 years, roughly.
Okay, and is it common for QPD to come across or have reports of abandoned or lost bicycles in the area?
It happens, yes.
Okay, so it's not unusual to come across an abandoned bike in the middle of town, is that fair?
I'd say that's fair.
Okay. Is the closest you found that bike to Tim's house at that garage around 18th Street or just off of 18th Street?
Correct. What was shown in the pictures is where I found it. I never saw it any closer.
Okay, and did you see that bike any closer to Becky's house than 20th Street? Or a bike closer to 20th Street than to Becky's?
No, that's the only bike I found.
Okay. Was any part of that bike dismantled and sent off for testing?
I don't know exactly what they did with it. I recovered it, transported it to the police department. It was turned over to Detective Eddie.
Okay, and that was your extent of your involvement in that, correct?
Correct.
As far as your door-to-door work is concerned, how many houses did you go to in the Kentucky Road area looking for viable surveillance video?
That day, I believe I touched on just about all of them. There might have been 2 that I didn't go to. I remember, I think Amy Schmiedes Camp was one of them that I wasn't able to make contact with.
All right, and approximately how many houses are in that neighborhood? Is it a small neighborhood or is it?
I'd say it's a bigger size neighborhood, maybe 40 houses.
Okay, and other than Taylor Hyman, you were unable to recover any viable surveillance from Kentucky Road, correct?
Correct.
And how long did it take you to go door to door in the Kentucky Road neighborhood?
Approximately 4 hours, maybe.
Okay, and during your investigation, did you ask those neighbors if they heard anything unusual the night Becky died?
The ones that I did make contact, I did ask them.
Okay, and did you ask any of those individuals if they saw anything unusual that night as well?
Most of the people advised that they did not hear or see anything.
Okay, and so the neighbors in the Kentucky Road neighborhood weren't particularly helpful to the investigation, correct?
With the exception of Mr. Hyman, that was, yeah, I would agree.
Okay, and after you canvassed the Kentucky Road neighborhood, where did you take your door-to-door canvassing from there?
It'd be the subdivision to the east of Chaddock, so it's at York Street.
Okay, and how many houses did you go door to door on York Street?
Roughly 20 to 30, maybe.
Okay, and how many hours did you spend going door to door on York Street?
Probably 2 to 3 hours.
Okay, and with respect to the people that you made contact with on York Street, were you able to find any viable surveillance video from York Street?
No, ma'am.
And did any of those individuals that you made contact with on York Street report to you anything unusual or out of the ordinary on the evening and early morning hours of February 22nd to 23rd?
No, ma'am.
And after you canvassed York Street, where did you take your door-to-door search?
I believe around that time, I had learned about the video surveillance on the bus barn.
Okay. And there was some video taken from the bus barn, correct?
Correct.
And the bus barn is located at 20th and Hampshire, correct?
Correct.
And after you came across the surveillance on from the bus barn, is that 20th Street?
Yes.
Where else did you take your search?
I went all the way I checked every house on the corner of 20th and Hampshire, 20th and Vermont. I went 20th Street west, all the way down Hampshire Street to 18th Street. I went 20th and Vermont all the way down to 18th and Vermont. I checked the houses on the corner of 18th and Vermont.
And in that route of going door to door, how many doors do you think you knocked on and doorbells you rang looking for viable surveillance video?
20, maybe 25,
Right. And how many hours did you spend on that particular portion of your search?
maybe 2 hours.
Okay. And was there anything viable that came out of that search?
No.
Okay. And did any of those individuals that you made contact with report anything unusual or out of the ordinary?
No, they did not.
Did any of those individuals report seeing Tim on a bicycle?
No.
And did any of those individuals report seeing Tim on foot?
No.
And is that where your door-to-door search for surveillance would have ended?
Yes, because at that point I would have found the bicycle once I went through the alley.
Okay. Did you check any intersections between Tim's house at 1641 Hampshire and Becky's house on Kentucky Road to see if any intersections had viable video?
Are you referring to like on a stoplight or something?
Like at 18th and Main Street or something like that?
I don't believe I looked up at any traffic cameras or anything.
Okay, so no traffic cameras were looked at?
No.
Did you check to see if any other businesses in or around the area of Becky's house had viable surveillance video?
If there was a business, we knocked on it.
What businesses did you knock on?
I know we probably would have checked the 24th and State Airco gas station that sits on the corner.
All right, and did 24th and State have any viable video for you?
Not that I recall.
Did you check any businesses around the area of Tim's house at 1641 Hampshire?
We had went, not on Hampshire, I'd went on Vermont Street, just west of 18th, I believe.
Okay, and what businesses did you check with on Vermont Street?
I'm sorry, I must have not heard the question. You said businesses, I checked houses.
Okay,
Just west of 18th. I
Okay,
didn't check any businesses.
You did not check any businesses west of 18th Street, correct?
No.
And how far north did your search go?
Vermont.
And how far south did your search go?
Be Grove, I believe.
Okay, and then how far west did your search go?
Just a couple houses shy of 18th.
Okay, and how far east did your search go?
The east subdivision of Kentucky Road.
And in all of that, you found the bicycle that you've referred to, correct?
Correct.
And you came across 2 or 3 pieces of viable surveillance video?
Correct.
Nothing else, Judge?
Redirect.
Just to be clear, 2 or 3 locations, Taylor Hyman, 24th Street, and the Quincy Busway.
Correct.
Multiple videos from each of those locations.
Correct.
And that's what your search was. Other officers were searching other areas, fair to say?
Correct.
And other officers were in charge of searching for traffic cameras.
Correct.
Not like you're the only one who was searching for video.
That's correct.
Lots of people were doing that.
That's correct.
That's all the questions I have.
You may step down.
Thank you, Judge.
Yes, they will give it to the Taylor, please. Counsel, you want to approach real quick? All right, call your next witness.
People would call Mike Bliefnick to the stand.
No.
Sir, if you'll step up to the front of the courtroom, please. Then raise your right hand, please, and be sworn by the clerk.
You do solemnly swear that the testimony you may give in the cause now pending before this court should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. Now, if you come around here and have a seat right here in this chair. Then kind of scoot up to the table to where you're comfortable, all right?
All righty.
And then pull that microphone or bend that microphone so it's in front of you and speak towards the microphone.
Okay.
You may inquire.
Can you tell me your name, please?
Michael Blazing?
Mr. Blazing, do you live here in Quincy?
Yes, I do.
How long have you lived in Quincy?
All my life.
Mr. Blazing, do you have a social media Facebook page?
I do.
And do you sometimes sell items on, I think it's called Facebook Marketplace, is that right?
Yes.
Can I hand you what's been marked as People's Exhibits 144, 145, and 146?
Yes.
Can you take a look at those? Tell me when you've had a chance to look at those.
Yes.
Are those photographs of your Facebook page and certain items, or a particular item that you sold on Facebook Marketplace?
They are.
Do they accurately show your Facebook page and those items?
They do.
Your Honor, we'd ask that those exhibits 144 through 146 be admitted in evidence and ask leave the court to publish to review.
Any objection?
No.
144, 145, and 146 will be admitted, and you may publish.
This is exhibit 144 on the screen. Mr. Blazing, is that your name?
Yes,
And is that your picture?
that is.
Your Facebook page?
Yes,
And you use that to sell items from time to time on Marketplace?
I do.
The bottom of the page, it says Mike's listings. Are these all things that you sold at one point?
Yes,
And specifically, there's listed as sold men's bike, his and her 26-inch Schwinn. Is that right?
yes,
You go forward to 145. And exhibit 145, is this the bike that you sold?
it is.
And you would have sold that bike in October or so of 2022, is that right?
I believe so, yes.
This Schwinn bike, do you notice anything about the wheel specifically that it doesn't have?
No,
Are there any reflectors on either the front or back wheel?
no,
And the bike is a blue color, is that right?
Correct.
And again, just so we're clear, if you go to 146, you sold that bike.
I did.
When you sold that bike in October of 2022, did that person pay in cash or with a check?
With cash.
Do you remember if that person was a man or a woman?
He was a man.
Do you remember if that man was white, black, Asian, Hispanic?
It was a white man.
Do you remember if that man was taller or shorter?
Tall, I'd say.
You're pretty tall. You're 6'6", 6'7"?
Yeah.
That person, was he as tall as you, a little shorter than you?
He's just a little shorter than me.
Fair enough. And as far as that person's, I guess I'll just say size, was fat, skinny, what?
Slender.
Slender?
Yeah.
Athletic?
Athletic, yeah,
Is
exactly.
that fair to say?
Sure.
Is it fair to say you don't remember anything else about that person?
That's about all I do remember.
And if I asked you if you saw that, if you would even recognize that person again, you couldn't answer.
Unfortunately, I couldn't know.
You can't say, to be fair, you can't say that that person is the defendant or isn't the defendant. Whether or not it is or isn't, you don't know.
I do not.
You don't remember what he was driving.
No.
Thank you, Your Honor. That's all the questions I have.
Cross, Ms. Schnack?
Sir, I just have one question for you. I just want to make sure I'm understanding your testimony correctly. Sometime last fall, you sold a blue bike to a man.
Yes.
No other questions.
All right, any further, Mr. Jones?
No, Your Honor.
You may step down. Next witness, Mr. Jones.
People would call Zach Bemis to the stand.
If you'll step up to the front of the courtroom, please. Raise your right hand and be sworn.
You do solemnly swear that the testimony you give in a cause now getting before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Come around here and have a seat right here. Scoot up to the table to where you're comfortable and bend the microphone in front of you and you may inquire.
Can you tell me your name, please?
Zach Bemis,
What do you do for a living?
Quincy Police Department, detective,
How long have you worked for the Quincy Police Department?
approximately 7.5 years.
Detective Bemis, I want to talk to you about some things that you did with regard to the investigation into the homicide of Rebecca Bliefnick, okay?
Yes.
Let's talk about first a bike ride that you did. In March of 2023, were you asked by your superiors and other detectives to, I guess, I'll just say, you're asked to ride a bike?
Yes.
Where was that bike ride going to start?
20th and Hampshire Street
Where were
here
you
in Quincy. Riding to the 2500 block of Kentucky Road.
Basically riding from just before or just north of the Quincy bus barn to the location of the crime scene.
Yes.
Is that fair to say?
Yes.
What kind of bike did you use to do that ride?
It was a Schwinn Sidewinder bicycle.
Is it the same type of bike that Patrick Hollensteiner found in February of 2023?
Yes.
What time of night did you conduct that bike ride?
Approximately 10 p.m.
That bike that you used, were there any substantive differences between that and the bike that Patrick Hollensteiner found? Substantive, anything that would make that bike faster or slower than the bike?
No.
Were there some cosmetic differences?
Yes.
And specifically, did the bike that you have reflectors on the wheels?
Yes.
And was there a video of that from the Quincy bus barn as well?
Yes.
When you rode from just north of the Quincy bus barn to the location of the victim's house, what route did you take?
Went south on 20th Street from Hampshire to Prairie Avenue, then east on Prairie Avenue to East Avenue, east on East Avenue to York Street, east on York Street to 24th Street, south on 24th Street to Kentucky Road, and east on Kentucky Road to the 2500 block.
Making that ride from that location to the crime scene took you approximately how long?
Just under 5 minutes.
Closer to 4 minutes? Between 4 and 5, I think at one point in time it was 4 minutes and 37 seconds. Is that right?
Yes, I believe it's 4 minutes, 54 seconds.
Sorry, 4 minutes.
For the
54
first ride.
seconds. Did you do a second ride from the Quincy bus barn to that same location?
Yes.
And was that second ride faster?
Yes.
And how long did that second ride take?
It was 4 minutes and 22 seconds, approximately.
riding from the Quincy, from that crime scene location back to the Quincy bus barn through just north of the Quincy bus barn took you approximately how long?
1 minute, 29 seconds from 23rd and York.
And then the second time?
2 minutes and 47 seconds.
I want to be clear, the first time you made a ride, it took you 1 minute and 20-some seconds, but you didn't actually start the timer until you were a little bit further down the road.
Correct.
And that's because of just operator error, per se.
Correct.
And then the second time it took how long?
2 minutes and 47 seconds.
Going from the bus barn to the location of the crime scene, that's slightly uphill.
Yes.
And going from the crime scene to the bus barn is slightly down.
Yes.
And is that why it was easier or faster to go back than it was to get there?
Yes.
You also were involved in what we'll call a trash pull, is that right?
Yes.
And was that at the residence of the defendant, 1641 Hampton?
Yes.
Can you tell us basically what a trash pull is?
We basically get in contact with Central Services. I coordinated with them, rode on the back of a trash truck in their uniform to the location that we're going to obtain trash from. I obtain 3 garbage bags. I set them off to the side so I can keep an eye on them so they don't get mixed in with other garbage. Go to a set location, then take the bag somewhere else where we open them up.
And did you open up those bags?
Yes.
When you opened up the bags, did you find anything?
Yes.
And specifically, what did you find?
There were 2 pairs of white latex gloves,
What date was this trash pull conducted on?
2/28 of 23.
That'd be more than 6 hours from 2/23/23, correct?
Yes,
And those white gloves were not sent for gunshot powder residue testing, is that correct?
that's correct.
Finally, I want to talk about this. Were you also involved in the search for video surveillance?
Yes.
Can you tell me about that? What was your area of responsibility? Where did you look for video?
Primarily around the 16th or 16th and Hampshire area and kind of the surrounding area around there.
Can you give me an idea of how many different houses you went to your best guess, best estimation?
Approximately 12 to 15.
And in those 12 to 15 houses that you went to, were you successful in recovering any video?
No.
Can you tell me why you couldn't find video at those locations?
Some of the residents, they set their geofence to where it stops in their yard. That way they don't have all the vehicle traffic down the road that sets their alarm off all the time. Some didn't have a set subscription paid, so it wouldn't actually record the video to where they could watch it later. They would just use it more as a Ring doorbell. And then some just were never home.
And some people didn't have video at all.
Correct.
Thank you, Detective. That's all the questions I have.
Cross, Ms. Knox?
Yes, all right. Bear with me, Detective, okay? Starting with the bike, where did the bike come from that you used for the different routes that you rode?
My house.
Okay, so this was a personal bike?
Yes.
Okay, and what was the size of the bike?
I don't recall the size.
Okay, do you know what types of tires were on the bike?
I don't recall.
Had the bike been serviced or received any type of maintenance prior to taking these practice routes?
No.
Okay. Are you an avid bike rider?
No.
And when you were going through these different simulations, did you keep track of any of your vital signs? Heart rate, breathing, anything like that?
No.
Okay. As far as the first route is concerned, you started that route at 20th and Hampshire, correct?
Yes.
And you ended that route at the 2500 block of Kentucky Road, correct?
Yes.
And neither Tim nor Becky lived at 20th and Hampshire, correct?
Correct.
And so your starting point for that route was neither Tim's house nor Becky's house, correct?
Correct.
And then your second route, you started off west on Kentucky Road, correct?
I was traveling west on Kentucky Road from the 2500 block.
Okay. And when did you start your timer on that second route? At what point on your route, or where were you at when you started your timer?
The second route was 23rd in York. I forgot to activate my body camera until that spot. So
Okay, so was the time 1 minute and 29 seconds? That was only the time from 23rd in York to 20th in Hampshire,
correct.
correct? And Tim did not live at 20th and Hampshire, correct?
Correct.
Becky did not live at 20th and Hampshire, correct?
Correct.
And neither one of them lived or had any association with 23rd and York, correct?
Correct.
And then you took a third route, correct?
Yes.
And that route, you started at 20th and Hampshire and ended at 2500 Kentucky Road, correct?
Yes. The 2500 block of
Thank you.
Kentucky Road.
And is that slightly past Becky's house?
It was right in line with the driveway,
Okay.
to be specific.
Okay. And to be fair, 20th and Hampshire, that's where the bus barn is, correct?
Correct.
As far as, well, strike that. So as far as your starting point is concerned with all of these bike simulations, none of those routes actually started at Tim's house, correct?
Correct.
But the ending point on those routes was at the 2500 block of Kentucky Road, correct?
Correct.
Which is the spot that you said that was right in line with Becky's driveway.
Correct.
Okay. And as far as the trash pull is concerned, were the gloves that were recovered from those 3 trash bags sent off for any type of testing other than gunshot residue testing?
No.
Okay. And were you involved in any other trash pulls or trash searches?
Yes.
And when was that?
I don't recall the date. It was at a compost site.
Okay. And how much time was spent going through the compost site that day?
Probably approximately 8 hours.
And was there just shy of 800 tons of trash that was sifted through and searched through that day?
I don't know the exact tonnage, but it was quite a bit.
And was anything useful recovered from that trash search?
Not that I can recall.
When you were doing your canvassing for surveillance video in the area of 16th and Hampshire, did you look or did you approach any businesses for surveillance video?
No.
Did you search for any viable traffic camera video?
No.
Do you know or do you recall how far north your search went for surveillance video?
I recall going over to Vermont Street, but primarily established an area just to the north of 1641 Hampshire.
And how far south did you take your search for viable surveillance video?
I did not go south.
Okay. What about west? Did you go west of
West was down to 16th.
and then what about east?
East was 18th.
Okay. When you made contact with these individuals in the area of 16th and Hampshire, did any of those neighbors report seeing Tim on a bicycle the night of February 22nd?
No.
And did any of those individuals report seeing Tim on a bicycle the early morning hours of February 23rd?
No.
No other questions, Judge?
May you redirect?
No, Your Honor.
All right, you may step down. Next witness.
Or other people would call Bradley Emmon.
If you could step to the front of the courtroom, please. And then raise your right hand and be sworn by the clerk.
You do solemnly swear that the testimony may give in the cause nothing before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do. And then if you come around here, have a seat right here in this chair. Scoot up to the table to where you're comfortable, and then bend that microphone so it's in front of you and speak towards the microphone, please. You may inquire.
Thank you, Your Honor. Can you tell us your name, please?
My name is Brad Eman,
Can you spell your last name for the reporter?
EHMEN.
Thank you, Mr. Eman. Where do you live at?
I live at 1665 Hampshire.
I'm going to show you up here on the screen a map. It's People's Exhibit 116 that's previously been admitted. Mr. Eman, is this your house right here that I'm circling?
It is,
So you lived just to the east of 1641 Hampshire, is that right?
correct.
How long have you lived at your residence?
Approximately 10 years.
In January of 2023, did you have a neighbor by the name of Timothy Bliefnick?
Yes,
Do you see Mr. Bliefnick here in court today?
I do.
Could you point him out by where he's sitting and what he's wearing, please?
He's wearing a brown quarter zip, sitting on the end of these two tables.
Honor the record to reflect that Mr. Eman has identified the defendant.
The record will reflect that that the witness has identified the defendant.
Sometime in that middle to end of January 2023, did you have a conversation with the defendant about surveillance cameras?
I did.
Tell me what time of day that was.
Early evening?
Did the defendant initiate the conversation with you?
Yes.
Tell us what he asked you.
He asked me if I had any cameras that showed his backyard.
And did you in fact have any cameras that showed his backyard?
No,
And did you tell him that at that time?
I did.
I don't have any other questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
Questions, Ms. Schnock?
Just a few. Just a few quick questions, Mr. Eman. Have you ever had issues with trespassers in your yard?
Yes.
Do you know if Tim has had issues with trespassers in his yard?
Objection.
That will be sustained.
Have you ever observed anybody in Tim's yard that did not live there?
No.
Okay. Are trespassers in your yard, or why do you have cameras in the back?
I don't.
Okay, you do not. Okay. When was the last time you would have had you would have seen any trespassers in your backyard or on your property?
I don't know that I've ever necessarily seen them. The neighbors had.
Okay.
So.
And as far as February 22nd is concerned, you did not see anything unusual in your neck of the woods on that evening, correct?
No.
And the early morning hours of February 23rd, did you ever see or hear anything unusual come from Tim's home?
No.
Okay. And do you know why you were being asked about surveillance video?
No.
Objection. Speculation.
That will be sustained.
Did Tim tell you why he was asking?
Objection.
He can, it's the statement by the defendant.
Offered by them, Your Honor. It's offered by us.
All right, all right. And it's hearsay.
I'll strike the question, Your Honor. Other than this, and you didn't think anything, when was this conversation, you said, sir, January
Yeah, middle to end of January.
of this year?
Correct.
Okay. Did you ever have any further conversations about surveillance with Tim? Okay. And it never came up again?
Nope.
Okay. No other questions, Judge?
Redirect.
No further questions, Your Honor.
You may step down.
Your Honor, I'd ask that Mr. Eman be excused from his subpoena.
Any objection, Ms. Schnock?
Nope.
All right, you're free to go.
Judge, at this point, we don't have any more witnesses for today. We have several lab people scheduled to testify tomorrow, which is why we couldn't bring them in this afternoon. So that's kind of where we are at this point, Your Honor.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you're going to be released for the day. Then I'm going to give you this admonishment again. You're going to get tired of hearing it, but you should
Okay,
not do
people,
any
we
independent
made it.
investigation or research on any subject or
We
person
made it.
relating to the case. What you may have seen or heard outside the courtroom is not evidence.
Just a
This includes any
second.
threat.
Let me shut him off in my ear. And let us show you. Is this the one we just did? Let me look a little bit tighter here. Yeah, so again, if you go to my Twitter page, pinned at the very, very top is both the morning and the afternoon recap. So this testimony we just played is on the PM, started with Brian Dutch and concluded here now with the neighbor, Brad. It looks like if I can share this tab here. I'm assuming. Okay, let's make sure that you're. Okay, so I just looked at Muddy Rivers tweets, and it appears that they're still in the morning session, which has got to be done pretty quickly. So, jury says another state law not available till Tuesday. Okay, so apparently court is done for today, according to this. So I'm going to pin this for now. So anytime that you need to unroll a thread you just simply go to anywhere within the thread of the person and you just type in one of these comment boxes at thread reader app unroll. And honest to God, within, 30 seconds or so, it'll say, Guten Tag, here's your unroll, and you open it. And then what I do is I usually switch it to reader view, and then I export it into like iBooks or Kindle, and then you can read it like a book. So for now, until I get a chance to read through all of this and then put together like, some kind of comprehensive script for the today's testimony, day 5 of the Timothy Bliefnick trial. And I'm not going to go ahead and do a video on that until the video gets released. Now, since court ended for the day already in day 5, it's possible we might have a video by this afternoon. They seem to be coming out like the next day. So I think I scheduled my day 5 video / recap for tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., which is Saturday. I know it's Memorial Day weekend, but that may change. So if you could just follow the channel. Again, I'm sorry. We're doing this the best that we can. And I don't know why it's so difficult here to get this footage released. And I also wanted to mention day 3 video. So day 3 was Wednesday. The testimony was Wednesday. And the video was released yesterday, Thursday. Well, this morning I woke up and Muddy Rivers has an apology because apparently in the day 3 video posted yesterday, or streamed yesterday, they forgot to edit out some of the very graphic crime scene photos. So I was instructed to take it down. So unfortunately, if you didn't watch it yesterday, you're probably going to have to just watch it through Muddy Rivers' YouTube page. Their day 3, they reposted it today because I was told I had to take it down. So you can no longer find it. And frankly, I'm so frustrated with this case. I mean, it's an interesting case. It deserves to be covered. There's a lot of weird things going on with the judge. The judge was the judge that presided over Becky and Tim's divorce, yet he's now presiding over the murder case, which is questionable. Additionally, Casey Schnack, the defense attorney, she represented Tim in his divorce. It's just weird. And then also hat tip to Jay. I forget what his Twitter name is. Jay. Jay. This guy here. The Shaming of Jay. He's also covering this case. And in his video started this morning, which was, I believe, Wednesday. God, this is so confusing. In the very beginning of his watch his YouTube video, because he covers some things that have been discovered on the Facebook. And I refuse to go on Facebook other than for a few things that my kids have had over the years, because half of my friends went bananas after 2016. So why have the stress? So if you click on this, he kind of goes over some of those interesting tweets. I guess the judge's wife is all over Facebook, blabbing her mouth off. I don't know. It's weird. So again, I apologize. I told my daughter, and I think I said to you guys earlier, if I was following my channel, I would unfollow my channel because this has been such a cluster, you know what. So we're doing the best that we can. But so what's next for the Timothy Bliefnick trial? It'll resume on Tuesday after Memorial Day weekend. I will do a day 5 video with a recap. And again, I will today's testimony, I'm just going to go ahead and pin that to my profile. Right now it is, that's my daughter Lily. Well, it was supposed to be pinned up here. Maybe I unpinned it. Oh, Jesus God. Namaste, people. Namaste. Well, anyway, so I will go ahead and put that in a summary, and I won't do the video. If the video comes out this afternoon, I'll pop on and just get it over with. And then I just want to do a week one recap video, because I want to go over the testimony once we've seen all of it for the whole entire week. I have some questions. I want to look at the times. Mysterious unidentified person is shown on the video camera of the neighbor going up and down the driveway during the time where we suspect Becky was murdered. So I want to go over some of that and just kind of go over some of the details, and then do a weekly recap for you. Also, hopefully by next week, I'm going to be doing the morning, I'm going to call it Covfefe and Crime. And so I've got some hashtags, Covfefe and Crime. Those will be the stories that I'll be covering in the morning. I'm just going to go over just some new things or some updated things, just kind of like a wrap up of what's going on, and then also kind of go over the schedule for the week. Because again, on Rumble, I only have one live stream spot at a time, whereas YouTube, I can do the whole week. So there's that. Tonight's Off the Grid 90s club music, Was It the Shit or Are We Full of It, is going to have to be rescheduled because my back is so bad. I went to the chiropractor during day 4 morning video, the beginning of this video, and I just don't dare sit in this chair, and you just certainly don't want to see me reclined in my chair. That will look stupid. So we're going to reschedule that. And I told her, well, today people are probably going out of town anyway. They're not going to be, sitting at home listening to 2 crazy girls that grew up in the 80s and 90s having cocktails. So we might do it tomorrow, might do it Sunday, might just ditch it and do it next week. So that's it. Again, I appreciate your patience. I'm trying to do the best I can to keep this as organized as possible, and trust me, it's dumb. But it is what it is, and we have a right to go through this trial together. So hopefully we'll be getting into a little groove here. I don't think this trial is supposed to last extremely long, to be honest. So without further ado, also, there is supposed to be an FBI whistleblower testimony today on the political side. So as soon as I'm done with this live stream, I'm going to go find it, and then I will do a live stream of that because I want to see it. I was told, or I think I read, it started later this morning, so likely it'll be a rewatch. But right after this, it'll take like 15-20 minutes or so to get my live stream spot back. So if you're interested in watching that with me while we have some lunch, FBI whistleblower testimony, we'll be back up and running here shortly. I want to thank you again for your patience. Please do not judge me for the cluster, you know what, that this has become, this trial. But we'll get there. Have a great day. See you later, people.
Thank you so much for spending part of your day with me. If you enjoyed the content, please hit that like button. Share this video on your social media. Subscribe to our channel. Turn on those important notifications. Follow us on Twitter. This channel is new, so that means we work for free. Any support is most appreciated through Rumble Rants, Venmo, or Buy Me a Coffee. All links are in the description box below. I look forward to your next visit to Crime Spies. Thanks again so much and have a blessed day.